Part 92. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 914. Washington has taken no action for the time being. That night, Sugu stood in Richelieu's room. Isn't it too heartless to ignore someone else's girl after you get married? But you just got married and you're in someone else's room. Are you too anxious? The dress had long been changed into a ruffled shirt and cropped trousers. Richelieu saw Sugu looking around and asked curiously, "Admiral, what are you looking at?" The ornaments on the bedside table were gifts given by him. In addition to serious literature, there were also many romance novels on the bookcase, but not comics. The overall decoration was warm colors. Sugu said, "Your room, this is the first time I have been here." "Ah, no, I seem to have been here a few times." Richelieu said, "Apart from his own room, the room that the Admiral goes to the most is probably the room in the small house." "No way, I'm not a pervert. I run to the little girl's room every day." Sugu thought to himself that every time he passed by, he had to look at Xiao Zai's room. Unfortunately, the little loli spent most of his time running outside and reading comics in secret. At the base container, it is rare to be in the room, that is, at night and during the rare nap time. Richelieu chuckled, clearly distrustful. Sugu thought for a while and decided to fight back. "I can understand that Sister Li is jealous. Because I don't go to her room." Richelieu sat on the edge of the bed and said, "Yes. You don't play according to common sense," Sugu thought to himself. He looked at the oil paintings hanging on the wall beside the bed. There was the lighthouse of the Tuileries mansion, soaked in the afterglow of the sunset, the pier of the Tuileries mansion, and the yacht was tied to the moorings with wire ropes. On the picture, the details are of little Souk Bader fishing on one side and a large group of little Lolita playing on the grass. He said, "I didn't actually paint my oil painting. Did you hide it specially?" "Admiral, you are narcissistic." Sugu said, "I remember being your model before." Richelieu still remembered that someone became restless after sitting for a while. He was really not a good candidate for a model. Sugu suddenly thought of something and laughed. Richelieu asked, "Admiral, why are you laughing? Don't you always have to paint oil paintings and body art?" Sugu thought about it and hesitated for a while. "I can be your nude model now." Richelieu didn't speak, and Sugu smiled. Richelieu thought that Hood was right. Her admiral was really boring. Naturally, she would not embarrass Sugu. She said, "Then the admiral should look like the thinker." "Okay, that's the look, I like it." Sugu recovered for a moment, and then thought about whether he was too unscrupulous and too playful. He was silent for a moment, and saw Richelieu turning the oath ring consciously. He said, "I already have the ring of oath, but I still need to buy another ring." Sugu said, "By the way, I also want to buy a wedding dress." "What style of wedding dress does Sister Li like?" "Have no idea. I bought a wedding dress and asked Kirov to take photos." "Then the oil paintings on your wall will be removed and replaced with wedding photos." Sugu said, "I remembered it. I have thought about it several times before. We can try that one. What is it called?" "It seems to be the saber arch." "That's an American military wedding custom." As he said, Richelieu thought to himself, sumptuous dishes, huge cake, white wedding dress and starched dress, stepping to the tune of the wedding march, slowly walked to the stage amidst the blessings of relatives and friends, embracing each other affectionately. Of course, great. But as a soldier, as an admiral and a ship's wife, you are considered a navy, so you need a sword arch. I have thought about it many times. On the bottom step of the church, the sword holders stood in two lines with normal gaps, facing each other. With the sound of officers, "Draw swords," the swords were unsheathed and gently raised. The 2 points collide. Another invert sword sound was heard, and the sword holder quickly flipped his wrist so that the blade of the sword was upward, and he held his arm around the admiral. Sugu said, Richelieu is half American. He continued, remember that in history, France was defeated and surrendered not long after the Richelieu was built. No army could ever occupy Paris before the French surrendered. In order to prevent the Richelieu from being acquired by the German army, the Richelieu went to the French territory, the North African port of Dakar, and then met Hood there. Speaking of which, does Richelieu still hate Hood? No, said Richelieu, we have become friends. I remember you couldn't stand Huda before, Sugu said, you didn't even want to say a word to her. Richelieu said, that is in the past. Sugu was thoughtful. He thought of what was going on, but without saying much, he added, after that incident, the Richelieu was lured to the United States with sweet talk, and then underwent modifications to strengthen air defense and improve fire control. And an electric power system, adding 3,000 tons of displacement, and it has since become feline. Richelieu stared at Sugu. Sugu said calmly, actually, calling Sister Li fat is just jealousy. Big butt, good fertility, and safe delivery are her advantages. Admiral, you are qualified. Is he still Admiral? Sugu realized that the title was wrong and he said, I should call him husband now. Richelieu took a deep breath, husband. I still want to hear the order. Don't push yourself too far, darling. Sugu thought to himself why he didn't realize earlier that Sister Li was so cute. Time passed little by little and gradually entered the night. Sugu finally experienced the other side of Richelieu besides the proud, confident, and generous chevalier, such as the romantic and passionate French beauty with soft blonde hair and plump breasts. Girth, slender waist, strong legs, round and straight hips, etc. Richelieu became the wedding ship, and the storm quickly died down. In the final analysis, no girl who has already had so many marriage ships deserves too much attention, especially this kind of destined marriage, which only exists sooner or later. If the girls Ayanamai, Fletcher, Little Changchun, etc. get married one day, it is worth discussing. If there are several small submarines, Suk Bader, Spi, Xiazai, Fantasy, etc., it is worth discussing for a week. The Admiral has already had 15 marriage ships, and the 16th wife is the throne of CV-16. It is the consensus of the entire garrison. Even CV-16 himself did not refute when asked. Mutsu is so sexy, let's talk about the ring. Who is MRS-17? The governor's office once had a court in private, and Washington received the highest vote. Well, why do you say it once did? This was the situation at the time. There was a pistol on the short coffee table and a few bullets scattered beside it. In addition, there were red wine, a sieve cup, playing cards, and dominoes. Nevada was lying on the big sofa behind the coffee table, with his hands on the armrests of the sofa and his legs crossed. He was only a cigar away from the gang godmother, it has been calculated. No matter who loses or wins, we will definitely make a profit. Someone questioned, Nevada, are you really not afraid? What are you afraid of? Nevada sneered and waved his hand, Guam, don't be too timid. Dong dong dong. It was a sudden knock on the door. Who? I. Boom. The door to the chess and card room was kicked open by a foot and hit the wall. Dust fell rustlingly. Washington, with his long white hair tied into a ponytail, stood in the corridor wearing a black jacket and holding an axe. She then walked into the room. There were several people in the room, but no one dared to move or speak. She walked up to Nevada, raised her axe and struck it on the coffee table, then sat down, picked up the red wine and poured a glass. Guam stood up and tried to sneak away. Guam, where do you want to go? Washington didn't look at Guam at all, but he just knew, sit down. Oh. Washington said, Nevada, I have something to ask you. Nevada immediately knelt down and lay on the coffee table, Sister Washington, I was wrong. You're right, Washington said. What's wrong with you? I was really wrong, and I know I was wrong. When Nevada was working as a maid in a cafe wearing a maid uniform, the town government received a telegram from the ship girl branch where the company was located. It turned out that a deep-sea ship girl appeared again somewhere. Although it was not at the level of a deep-sea flagship, it should not be underestimated. The general garrison cannot deal with it, the direct combat team is not nearby, I really have no resources, please help. You thought of us when something happened. Sugu was furious while sitting in the coffee shop of the town hall, slamming the table. Tell the company, tell her that if we don't do it, we will wait until you send Clarkston over. You are a dishonest guy. Hipper passed by. Admiral, you said it yourself, it is not Project M that will serve as the captain of the military police, but the San Francisco. We have no influence anymore. Please be careful. Are you embarrassed to accuse me? Sugu said, you stalk fireflies all day long. Hipper was speechless. Sugu dismissed it, that San Francisco, let her come and put me in the gendarmerie, sit on the tiger bench, use a whip dipped in salt water to beat me, and I won't be given food, drink, or sleep if I don't explain. Humph, as long as she dares come on, I won't let her leave. Speaking of which, her immediate boss, the captain of the gendarmerie, will respectfully call me Admiral Sue when he meets me. Yes, yes, you are amazing. Bismarck is ready and ready to attack, Königsberg said. Stop, tell her to stop, don't attack without my order. Of course Sugu just said it. Missouri is also very dissatisfied with what the company has done. The richer you are, the more stingy you are. Originally, you had promised a red envelope, a big red envelope, which is absolutely satisfying. Now that you know it, you pretend you don't know it, and you haven't seen a dime. Hindenburg looked at Missouri and thought, since he got the ring, everyone he knew has informed him, wishing that the whole world knew that he was married. Leipzig was sitting next to her. She was drinking beer, counting on her fingers, and receiving red envelopes when she got married. There were more than 100 and almost 200 people in the garrison, and each person got a red envelope. Acquaintances wanted big red envelopes, and little Lolita could not be missing, even if they were young. We can't take away their power, right? A newlywed is too embarrassed to open the red envelope. She looked at Sugu and blinked. This was really a good way to make money. After many days, Yubari's laboratory was finally completed. It was okay at first, but soon it was occupied by a bunch of little Lolita. Actually, it was her fault, because there were rumors about the laboratory in the town hall, so in order to resolve this misunderstanding, she transformed into a kind sister. Firefly, what do you think this is? A magic wand. Yubari's hands-on ability is 10,000 times better than Sugu's. A gemstone magic wand is made beautifully and delicately. If you hold the handle tightly, the big gemstone will shine. Thank you Sister Yubari. The gift has always only been a scarf, but Firefly got the best gift, and she has fun since then. Gunara, the god of darkness, turned into a fool. Balala energy, pregnancy. It seems like something is wrong. Xiaozai, what do you think this is? Whoever controls Xiaozai controls the admiral. In addition, as one of the 3 bullies of the guardhouse, Xiaozai is also a unique existence among all the little Lolita, and no one does not sell face. Determined to build a good relationship, Yubari gave Kozaku a gift, a small box. What's this? You flip a switch. Xiaozai flipped the switch, and suddenly a little man appeared from the small box, turned off the switch and retracted into the small box. If Sugu were here, he would definitely recognize it. This is the so-called boring box. In fact, it was also the idea he gave Yubari on how to make an interesting gift that would please the little loli. Leipzig almost knelt in front of Yubari, asking only for a lucky cat that could wave, but that was something to talk about later. There were also many performances. Yuberry held a plastic tip dropper and said, "Look, this is milk. Then, it's time to witness the miracle. Add a little paint to milk and a drop of soapy water to create a beautiful picture. The density of the paint is lower than that of milk, so it will float on the milk. The soapy water will destroy the fat in the milk. This process will cause the movement of the milk, thus spreading the colors of various paints." Awesome! A group of little Lolita cheered. Several times like this, the laboratory suddenly became a treasure place, and that was when Yuberry was in pain. "Thatcher, don't touch that. Don't bother me, Transformer, you don't understand even if I tell you. Who broke my test tube? Spay, that's not beer, that's diesel." Finally she couldn't bear it anymore, so she decided to do something. "Lan, please cooperate and drink it, and you will be saved." "Drink it? This is the fate of the ship girl. It's not a strange thing. It's not aqua regia. Concentrated hydrochloric acid and concentrated nitric acid are in a ratio of 3 to 1. It's mixed. Don't ask so many questions, just drink it. Come on, open your mouth. Ah. No, I don't want to die. Help me, someone help me, Admiral, where are you? I'm going to die and see this world again. Ah, wow wow wow, I still don't want to die." Yelling, Arashi's expression, "That would be interesting. U-47, don't worry. Will Sister Yuberry harm you? Of course not. I won't do anything. I tied you up just in case. Now, I'm going to hit you with this big hammer. Fingers, don't be nervous, I'm just testing how much force the ship girl can withstand." U-47's expressions are actually quite rich. After being frightened several times, Yuberry finally got peace, but everything returned to the original point. The laboratory became a forbidden place for the little Lolita, and she turned into a crazy and evil scientist again. The time has passed and we are entering mid-December. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 915. Occasionally. London also makes a cameo as a maid in a cafe. It's just that as a maid, she is absolutely not allowed to enter whether it's the kitchen or the bar, where juices and other items are mostly prepared. I don't blame others for not trusting her. She has no idea that she is a master of dark cooking, and she also likes to be mean. Although she thinks she has good intentions, in short, she is afraid that if she adds a little bit of ingredients without authorization, something big will happen. Your Coke. After receiving the Coke, Oklahoma took a careful sip. There was no strange taste. She felt relieved, but she still didn't dare to be careless. She was afraid of encountering a ghost around the corner. I heard from York City that she had been tricked several times before. Sugudong, the feeling of sour, sweet, bitter, and spicy exploding in the mouth is so stimulating. After delivering the Coke, London put down the tray on the bar and saw Kent squatting on the ground. He stood up again, looked around, muttered something, and asked, "Kent, what are you looking for?" Big Tiger is gone," Kent said. "I put something on the table, but when I came back I found it was gone." London thought for a while. "I seemed to see CV-16 take him away." Mine, Kent felt aggrieved, with a pitiful look on his face, thinking that forgetting the others, why did CV-16 start to behave like this? The big tiger is already very fleshy and cute. He lies on the table and screams wow, with such a cute appearance. CV-16, who loves small animals, couldn't hold it anymore, so he picked it up and rubbed his face. I walked around with my heart in my arms, but I couldn't see Kent left or right, and I didn't see her after eating the snacks. A little devil said in my ear, "It doesn't matter, just take her away. We are all good sisters. We don't care." There is a little angel saying, "Hurry up, hurry up." Finally, CV-16 took away the big tiger, and now stood under a phoenix tree whose leaves had almost fallen, watching what a few little Lolita were doing. It seems dead. Zai squatted on the ground and poked a dead bird with his finger. Cushing said, "Seagull." Xiao Zai said, "Definitely not. How can a seagull look like this?" "Albatross. The albatrosses are big, not that small." "Little albatross." Xiao Zai was a little angry. She felt that Cushing was just making excuses. CV-16 couldn't help but say, "Pigeon." Zai said to Cushing, "Did you hear that? Doves, pigeons don't recognize them." Kong wanted to say, "Why did it die?" Lafayette picked up the pigeon's wings and his expression became serious. "There is blood." Squatting on the ground like a dream, he raised his head to look at CV-16, and suddenly asked, "Sister CV-16, what do you think?" As Sugu's ship's wife, no one is immune, and CV-16 is also a victim. She thought of something and suddenly laughed. There must be something fishy about this matter. Xiao Zai was quite cooperative. "Sister CV-16 is truly a goddess." CV-16 blushed slightly when he heard it, and found it quite interesting. "Obviously, this is a murder case." "Who is the murderer?" Lafayette said. "Who killed the cute little pigeon, goo goo goo?" Xiao Zai said, "Sister CV-16, who do you think is the murderer?" CV-16 usually likes to read detective novels. Unfortunately, as a ship girl in the guardhouse, it is impossible to become a detective. It is a rare opportunity to show off. She thought for a while and spoke almost by mistake. "When did you discover the deceased?" "It was just now," Xiao Zai said, taking out a piece of chalk from his pocket and drawing a line along the dead pigeon. The little Lolita squatted on the ground, surrounding the dead pigeons. CV-16 put down the ferocious tiger in his arms and squatted on the ground. Starting from Cushing on the far left, he slowly looked at Lafayette on the far right. He glanced around, observed everyone's expressions, and asked, "Who discovered the deceased first?" Zai said, "Cushing, it's Cushing." Cushing noticed that everyone was looking at him and was a little panicked for a moment. He shook his head quickly and said, "It wasn't me. It wasn't me." "Since it's not you, why did you react so fiercely?" "There is no other explanation other than a guilty conscience." Xiao Zai narrowed her eyes. She already understood everything. "It must be you who did it. You are the murderer." "It's not me, it's really not me." Cushing thought of something and said, "I have alibi. Wasn't I with you just now?" Suddenly there was a flash of lightning in his mind, and Zai said, "You were not here when we caught the chatty eagle, and you were not here when we started to bury it. You ran over halfway. So you must have killed it first. Put this pigeon here, and then run to us, trying to create evidence of alibi. Unfortunately, your psychological quality is not up to par, and your flaws are exposed." Even though the bald eagle Belmacan was his tutor, CV-16 was not filled with righteous indignation. He thought he was chatty again, but it was not good to provoke anyone, the most lawless people in the garrison. When Xiao Zai was asking Lafayette and Kong Xiang to seize Cushing and take him to the admiral, she touched the dove and said, "Corpse can't lie." Utopia and Lafayette had already put Cushing's hands behind his back and stopped when they heard CV-16's words. "Unfortunately, I don't have a pipe, so I can only brush my bangs." CV-16 explained, "It is winter now and the temperature is very low. If the deceased has been dead for a long time, he must have been cold. The deceased still has body temperature, so he has obviously just died soon. Since Cushing has just been with you, it can't be the murderer." Cushing pushed Xiang and Lafayette's hands away and said aggrievedly, "I told you it wasn't me." CV-16 chuckled lightly and said, "There is blood on the wings of the deceased. It was obviously attacked before death. Let's look at the wound again. Through the wound, we can judge what kind of attack it received before death. whether it was a slingshot, a bow, an arrow, or sharp teeth. Claw. She continued, if it's a slingshot, how many slingshots does our garrison have in total? Xiaozai said, the admiral had a slingshot, but it was later taken away by Sister Atlanta. Carmichael also had one, Thatcher also had one, and who else doesn't know? CV-16 pinched his chin and said, if it's an arrow wound, there are quite a few people in our garrison who know how to use bows and arrows. I remember Sister CV-16 has a crossbow, right? Xiaozai started thinking. She looked at CV-16 with a look of shock on her face, thinking what if the detective was the murderer? CV-16 patted Xiaozai on the head without explaining, because once you fall into the rhythm of these little Lolita, you can't get out. She said, Mr. Bell, it's definitely impossible. You guys caught it and buried it? Meng, it's just an appearance. In fact, cats are the most selfish and ruthless cruel killers of small animals. They can attack other small animals not for prey, but just for fun, so don't feed wild cats casually. And Ginger is too fat and can't even walk. It's difficult, the fish cakes are just a little bit better, and it has the highest possibility of an Oscar. A voice suddenly sounded. After all that, what kind of injury is it? CV-16 kept chattering because he couldn't tell what kind of wound it was. CV-16 looked up and saw Sugu. He didn't react for a while. After a while, he lowered his head little by little and asked, when did the admiral come? When Xiaozai said Cushing was the murderer, Sugu hugged the big tiger and said, funny, congratulations to CV-16 on becoming a famous detective. I'm not, I didn't. Who is the one who made a circle about the murderer in the detective novel of the town guard house? The murderer has not been found until now. CV-16 remembered what she had just done, and her face was so red that it almost bled. He slowly stretched out his hands to cover his face, lowered his head, and let a few strands of long hair fall to the ground. Admiral CV-16 thought of something again and took out a hand to grab Sugu's pants and pull gently. Little Lolita doesn't need to care too much. She will forget it after a while. Only one person must remind her, otherwise she will never have the face to see anyone again. Why are you so stupid to play some kind of detective game with little Lolita? A pigeon dies. If you eat it, you will die. What day is there without squab soup? CV-16 said, don't tell others, okay. Sugu said, I'll think about it. CV-16's voice could almost be heard crying, please. Okay. Since CV-16 said it, Sugu felt soft and couldn't bear to tease her anymore. He thought to himself, the contrast is cute, so cute, she is indeed MRS-16. There are only a few little girls still surrounding the dead pigeon, so who is the murderer? Until evening, he sat in his room and read the newspaper. As an admiral, he still had to pay attention to the major events happening around the world. If he couldn't read novels and comics all day long, it would be really useless. Sugu still felt a little bit when he thought of CV-16. It's funny, but it's a pity that she couldn't tell anyone else if she agreed, which would make it a lot less fun. After reading one page and turning over the newspaper, Sugu heard shouting. Admiral! He put down the newspaper and saw a blonde girl, avant-garde. The vanguard hesitated for a moment, then made up his mind and said, Admiral, the Lion asked you to go to her place at night. From time to time, there will be one more wedding ship, and today your system and tomorrow's system will be messed up. I usually take the initiative on my own, but everyone is still very shy. The worst I can do is ask, Admiral, where are you going to sleep at night, and express your thoughts tactfully. Well, in fact, Lexington, Helena, Missouri, etc. are also quite capable, but the Lion is really the only one who is so generous and generous, even asking others to pass the message. Sugu thought to himself, it seemed like he hadn't been to her place for a few days. He waved his hand, I understand. Then I'll leave first. The avant-garde left on the front foot, Helena came over on the back foot, looking at the avant-garde's back, Admiral went to the lion again at night. Sugu nodded. Helena thought to herself that there was nothing the lion could do and couldn't defeat him, but Jian, a little girl like you, was not afraid. After agreeing and tidying up, Sugu went out and walked downstairs to another dormitory building. He found Shi's room and pushed the door open. Although she was wearing an ordinary skirt, she had an arrogant expression and crossed her legs, sitting sideways. On the golden and red sofa, there was no sexiness, and she was really domineering. She seemed to hear the footsteps and raised her head. You came. Sugu sat down on the sofa next to the lion and said jokingly, Your Majesty the Queen has an order, how dare you not come? Now I'm here to sleep with you. Lion never called herself a queen. Everyone cheered and called her queen, but she didn't refute. She took off her high heels, stretched out a leg and put it on Sugu's leg, and cooperated, the queen has ordered you to rub my legs for me. It's an order Sugu naturally didn't mind. The height of the lion was second to none in the garrison. Even Richelieu was no match. His legs were naturally the longest, graceful and slender, and his thighs were round, tight and firm. Fair and fair, the skin is not sagging at all, and the calves are thin and smooth, enough to lick broken bones. Sugu put his hands on the lion's calf, kneaded it, and asked, How strong is this? The lion said, Heavier. Sugu added a little more strength, Are you ready? Heavier. What now? It's useless, the lion scolded, but naturally he didn't really scold him. Sugu paused, thinking how dare you scold me, but my queen, my wife, forget it, bear it, and suddenly felt a little excited again. Sugu rubbed it for a while and asked, Are you ready? The lion changed its leg. After a while, the lion shrugged again. You're really rude, Sugu said. Give you a chance to perform. Sugu felt something was wrong. Wasn't this something he often said? Walking behind Lion, Sugu saw her long wavy hair and liked it very much. He said, Lion, I suddenly noticed that your hair is a bit thick. Unexpectedly, the Admiral's massage technique was surprisingly good and comfortable. He didn't want to talk, so the lion responded, Yes. Sugu said, After all, he is the Lion King. Lion Wang. Huh, Lion's voice rose a bit. Sugu saw the teacup that she placed on the table and said, Black tea. Yeah, do you want it? No, Sugu said, you British people really like black tea. You might as well say you are obsessed with it. Forget it during the day and drink it at night. Are you really not afraid of not being able to sleep? Sugu said and thought to himself. He always slept very well and rarely had insomnia. But when he had insomnia, the feeling of tossing and turning and being unable to fall asleep was really uncomfortable. If possible, drink very little tea or coffee at night. The lion said, If I have insomnia, the Admiral is responsible for talking to me. I can't sleep without sleeping. Okay, Sugu did his part. Feeling that it was almost done, Sugu stopped and asked, How is it? Barely qualified. The lion is not arrogant, this is a way to control his subordinates. Sugu put his arms around the lion's neck, looked at her clearly, and said in a disgusting voice, The queen is now comfortable, so how about the crown and dress? The lion turned his head, full of majesty. Open the window, let the autumn moonlight shine, extinguish the candle and untie the skirt. Under the smiling curtain, the fragrance of orchid and hibiscus spread all over the body. Lion. After everything was over, Sugu felt like he was being held by the lion, as if he was completely on the weaker side. The tragic height difference was really uncomfortable. She heard the infinite grievance in Sugu's voice and asked, What's the problem with Admiral? It's nothing, Sugu thought for a while, but still didn't speak. Holding the lion's hands, Sugu suddenly said, "It's been a month? Why hasn't Queen Elizabeth come back yet?" The lion hugged him tightly and made a simple calculation: if we hurry up, it will be over the next few days. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 916. Brother Su. I called you Brother Su. Come on, Brother Su has a cigarette. Don't make trouble. What are you doing? Sugu swatted away the extended hand. He never smoked and looked at the man standing next to him. He was the owner of a bridal shop and had a wife. Since I have bought wedding dresses so many times, the two of them are quite familiar with each other over time. I came to Sichuan show today mainly to pick up a wedding dress, a lion's wedding dress. It used to be a game, and the lion didn't have a wedding dress. Think about it, what girl doesn't want a wedding dress? Of course, another set needs to be replenished, and every wedding ship such as Bismarck and Prince of Wales has been replenished. And because of her height, there is no way to buy it directly, so she can only order it. She was trying it on, not sure whether it fit or what needed to be modified. Anyway, she had been in the fitting room for a while. I was waiting outside and seemed to be entangled. It doesn't open for 3 years, but it lasts for 3 years after opening. To a certain extent, the same is true for bridal shops. It is rare to see a large number of guests. There were no customers. The boss stood at the door with Sugu. He took out a cigarette from the cigarette box and held it in his mouth. He lit the flint steel wheel lighter several times and lit the cigarette. I really admire you. You are amazing. I will give you a lifetime, just one. How many have you gotten married this year alone? Sugu said, there are not many. First is Xianghe. The boss stretched out his hand and started counting. The memory of that gentlewoman is still fresh. When she tried on the wedding dress, her eyes were full of longing. Sugu thought to himself that Xianghe just tried on a wedding dress and was not actually married, but he didn't explain much. Sister Ruhi, the boss said, she seems to have wanted 3 sets, a wedding dress, a white dress, and a cheongsam. Sugu said, there is no cheongsam. No? I think about it, it seems not. The one who bought the cheongsam was Missouri. I got confused. The boss patted his head and said, Missouri, she is behind Ruhi, and the lion is behind him. Missouri bought a ring and a wedding dress just 2 days after getting married. Later, she remembered that the lion was not there yet. Sugu explained, actually, the lion has been married before. I have been running a bridal shop for so many years. Thanks to your admirals for taking care of the business, one admiral has several bridal shops. This business is easy to do. And I have seen a lot of bridal shops. She has the best temperament among all the bridal girls I have seen. The one. I think the main thing is that she is tall, and standing next to her is really stressful. The boss said, hey, Mr. Su, are you really not afraid of a woman like this, the queen, as your wife? To be honest, Sugu admitted, being with her, sometimes I really feel ashamed, unworthy, and under a lot of pressure. The boss flicked his cigarette and the ashes fell on the ground. Even though he loved his wife very much, it didn't stop him from imagining, it must be a sense of accomplishment and conquest. What's the meaning? I said, push it down. It is okay. Finally, Richelieu, the boss said, her wedding dress is not ready yet, and it will take about half a month or a month. Sugu said, I'll get it next time. While the two were talking, she had already changed into her wedding dress and came out. Her long wavy golden hair was simply rolled up, and she wore a long church-style veil that fell to the floor. The crystal white neck, smooth shoulders, and the chest of the wedding dress are dotted with many hot diamonds and crystals. The tail is definitely more than 1 meter. It cannot be worn under normal circumstances, so it can be walked in a spacious place. All in all, standing in the red carpeted hall now looks noble and gorgeous. The lion looked at Sugu. She was not shy at all, only proud and confident. In order to help the lion put on the wedding dress, the bridal shop owner's wife, who had been struggling for a long time, appeared from behind the lion. She saw her husband first. She was almost dumbfounded and a little unhappy, although she must admit that her figure and appearance were completely different from the lion's. Comparing the methods, looking at Sugu again, she asked, "How is my design?" "Very good." The boss lady began to explain how hard she worked to design this wedding dress, and what the design was for. What to consider. Finally, he said, "Admiral Su, you see how hard I have worked so hard, so can you let your bride be a model for once and let us take some photos and put them in the store?" Sugu said, "Ask the lion." The landlady turned to Lion, clasped her hands together, and said, "Sister Lion, what do you think? I really appreciate it. It may be a bit troublesome. In return, we have a small gift for you." She glanced at Sugu and she agreed. The landlady directed the boss to decorate the venue. Kinwei and the lion were inseparable, so naturally she came too. When the lion was changing into his wedding dress, she was also helping him. She looked at the lion up and down and murmured to herself, "The lion is so beautiful." When Sugu heard the compliment from the vanguard, he dismissed it. He was embarrassed to say anything to praise girls before, but he gradually got used to it after talking too much. He swayed in front of the lion and said with a smile, "Lion, really, I didn't believe it before, but now I believe it, that poem. There is a beautiful woman in the north, peerless and independent. Look at the charming city, and then look at the charming country." The lion was very calm and not full of glory. She said softly, "Continue." Sugu said, "Wei Tuo and Tuo are both beautiful and beautiful. Then fold your slender waist and take a slight step, showing your bright wrists in light gauze. Is that all?" Sugu thought of something, and regardless of whether it was suitable or not, he simply changed it and took it out for use. He said, "I have traveled many roads in my life, crossed many bridges, seen many clouds, and drank many drinks. I have seen many beautiful people, and the most beautiful one is called a lion. Not enough, not enough, I want more." Sugu was scratching his head and didn't know how much he had said. No more, I really can't say anything." "Didn't you say that men can't say no?" "It really doesn't work," Sugu said, "let's do it next time." The lion said, "Let's note it down for the time being. I will pay for it with the capital and profit another day." Walking around, arranging lights and backgrounds, the boss naturally heard it. When he saw Sugu alone, he raised his thumb and said, "Su, I finally understand why you have so many weddings. Damn it, why didn't you read more when you were a kid? This is not difficult. It's not too late to read more books." Sugu patted the boss on the shoulder. "The difficult part is where can you find so many ship girls, especially a battleship like the Lion." The boss said, "I finally understand why the other admirals come here. Every time they mention you, no one doesn't grit their teeth. I thought it would be quick, but who knew it took so long to take pictures and it didn't end until the afternoon. You haven't done it yet." Hearing a familiar voice, Sugu turned around and saw several people walking into the bridal shop. The first one was York City with pretty short hair, followed by the hopeless bumblebee, who knew nothing but the best at playing Kun. 11 was eating crepes, and there were a few little Lolita. They had already walked away in the store, looking here and there. Because they were well educated, they did not touch them. Everyone came together in the morning and separated later. "We just agreed to meet at the dock at what time in the afternoon and go back to the town hall together." Advisor Su asked, "Why are you here?" York City replied, "I was just passing by and came to see you." Sugu still knew who his ship girl was. He said, "There must be something wrong." York City hesitated, "It's really okay." Among the group of people in front of him, no one was reliable. Northampton didn't go out with Bumblebee. She didn't like shopping too much, and New Orleans didn't go out either. Since someone was willing to take care of Quincy, it was rare to have a day off. Sugu sneered. He thought of what was going on. No money. The Admiral is so awesome, York City chuckled. Sugu said, "I just gave you so much money in the morning, and now you have no money." York City lowered his head and scratched his hair. "Consultant Sue, I see you didn't buy anything? Did you eat them all?" "First we went to Haven Road, which is the store at the intersection, and ate the super big egg tart and the supreme pizza, which tasted really good," York City said. "Then we went to the pedestrian street and walked around the food court to get barbecue rolls, shrimp dumplings, duck blood vermicelli, oysters, large chicken drumsticks, octopus balls, and pig's feet. We ate them from beginning to end anyway." Sugu said, "The way you eat, no matter how much money you have, it won't be enough. You usually work so hard to attack and suppress the deep-sea ship girls, can't you just eat something?" York City said, "I will go to the military police to sue you, the black-hearted admiral of the garrison." "Sue, go and sue. Don't complain, such a good admiral can't be found with a lantern." Sugu's temper, which is soft but not tough, is known to everyone in the garrison. York City said in a cooing voice, "Brother Sue." Sugu said, "When did you learn to be so disgusting? Please, please. Can you make me more disgusting? Dearest Admiral, I love you the most." Sugu said, "It's useless for you to call me, I have no money." "You think I'm Quincy, a fool?" York City said. "You don't have any money." "Not really." York City grabbed Sugu's hand and shook it. "Stop, stop, okay, okay." Sugu couldn't stand it anymore and said, "Kinway, you go ask Kinway, she is a follower, she holds the money." "Where is the Vanguard?" York City let go of Sugu's hand, it was so real. "I don't know where it went. I was still here just now." "Let's look for it," Sugu said. He found the Vanguard in advance, made a gesture, and whispered, "York City will ask you for money later. Just give it to me. I think this number is about the same, don't say I won't give it." "That's it, you won't be unable to handle this little thing, right?" Avant said, "No problem." "Avant-garde, do you want to be so stingy? When did you become Leipzig?" "Kinway, you are unkind, don't blame me for being unjust in the future." When York City was yelling, Sugu walked behind Xiao Zai, who was lying on the window display, picked him up and rubbed his face, and asked, "Xiao Zai, what are you looking at?" "Wedding dress." "Does the wedding dress look good?" This was so confusing that Sugu said, "Xiao Zai, do you want to try it on? If it is an ordinary bridal shop, there will definitely not be wedding dresses for little girls, but this bridal shop can be said to specialize in admirals and ship maidens, and it is very common for an admiral to marry a destroyer. Well, it is still not that common, even if would you like some rabbit today, club members rarely do this kind of thing." The boss appeared at the right time. "There is no wedding dress that she can wear. She is too young, a young girl." Sugu said, "Not a young girl, a young girl. Are you really embarrassed to talk about girls?" Sugu said, little Loli is ready." The boss said, "Anyway, we don't have such a small wedding dress." "Tong Xiang, come here." Sugu put down the small house and saw the little princess. The little princess was already a girl and much taller than the small house. "Want to try it on in Kong? Wedding dress?" Kong Xiang shook his head, "I don't want to." "Why? So complicated? Just give it a try, I'll buy you some delicious food." When Sugu persuaded Utopia, he didn't know that Quincy was standing at the hangar bar, and that York City, Bumblebee, and the proprietress were also there. When he saw Quincy again, he saw the girl wearing a crystal crown, a waist-length white veil, a tube-top champagne white short wedding dress, a cake skirt embroidered with gold rims, white stockings, and white high heels. When she came out of the fitting room, she looked like a lion. Her smile was bright, without being solemn, and she looked playful and cute. "Admiral, do you think Quincy looks good in this dress?" Sugu was surprised. "Why are you wearing a wedding dress?" Quincy turned in a circle and said, "Quincy thinks Quincy is so beautiful today." "Quincy," this York City handed Quincy a large bouquet of roses. Quincy held a large bouquet of roses and said reluctantly, "Admiral, you haven't said yet, isn't Quincy beautiful?" "Cute." Quincy tugged at the hem of her skirt. She looked forward to it and said, "Admiral, this dress is so beautiful. I like it so much. You have never bought clothes for Quincy before. Please, just one piece, okay? Quincy wants this one. How about buying it and giving it to Quincy? Quincy will definitely listen to the Admiral's words in the future." "Buy, just try it on," Sugu said. "Quincy, do you know what you are wearing now?" "The wedding dress." Sugu guided, "So?" Quincy tilted his head and blinked his big eyes, confused. "So what?" "Xiao Zai knew a lot," she said. "You idiot, Sister Quincy, don't you know this? Only the bride can wear the wedding dress. Only Sister Lion can wear it. You are not a wedding dress." Oh, Quincy lowered his head, bit his lip, and tugged on the hem of his skirt, as if a child encountered a toy that he dreamed of, but his parents were unwilling to buy it, claiming that they had no money, or that there were many toys at home. As a sensible person, the child doesn't cry or fuss, doesn't throw up or roll around, and can only put down the toys silently. York City couldn't stand it, and the one who usually called her sister York City the most was Quincy. Unlike other people, who regarded herself as a fool, she said, "Otherwise, just buy it." Bumblebee said, "As long as you don't wear a veil, it looks the same as an ordinary skirt, similar to a white skirt in New Orleans." The landlady said, "If you really want it, I'll make it cheaper. After all, you've done so much business for us." "Well, don't look at me like that, I won't say anything anymore." York City added, "South Dakota still has a ring. If Quincy wants it, then he needs a wedding dress. What's the big deal?" Sugu nodded, "That seems to be the truth." Soon after, the proprietress looked at the group of people walking away and said, "I actually bought it. My wife is still good at doing business." The boss looked at his wife, holding a large wedding dress in her arms. "Didn't they take the one you have?" "She just told me that she needs to change it again." The proprietress lowered her head and looked at her chest. Her expression was really ugly and distorted. She said, "It's a bit small here, too tight, and she wants to make it bigger." "Okay. Damn it, we are all ship girls, why are there such big differences?" The boss's expression became even more ugly. "Comparing one person to another will lead to death, and comparing goods to goods will lead to throwing away. Do you want to die?" The landlady raised her fist. "I was wrong. We had to rush back before dark and leave the bridal shop. We didn't separate anymore and went shopping together. It was actually still early and we were already walking on the pier." Sugu repeatedly stated, "Quincy's wedding dress, you know what's going on, and you won't talk nonsense, especially you, who is avant-garde." York City nodded repeatedly, "Yes, yes, the vanguard is the most evil. If there are any random rumors, it must be her who started it. It was last time." Sugu patted Yorkchange's head unceremoniously. He naturally knew what happened last time. The lion stood out among the group of people. He attracted the most attention from passers-by along the way. He had no stage fright and went his own way. She said, "Everyone knows what's going on. Just smile and forget about it." "But is the Admiral really not worried about New Orleans?" Sugu was stunned. It felt so wrong. Here was the problem. He said, "Why didn't you remind me earlier?" The lion smiled, "You didn't ask me. It's difficult to handle. It's really difficult to handle." Sugu rubbed his head, thinking about the possible reactions in New Orleans. He saw a girl sitting on a bench by the roadside. The girl wore an orange headband, long lazy gray hair, and a thin red sweater. She was holding a box of pizza and eating it. There were many snacks around her, such as horseshoe cakes, will cakes, and halva. Sugu himself didn't know why. It was obviously a girl he didn't know. He kept walking, but his head subconsciously turned a little bit to stare at the girl. Finally, he turned half of his body. He was a little concerned and stopped. "Lion. Sugu still remembers the vertical painting of Queen Elizabeth in the game, with a bustier skirt and a bustier skirt, holding a spear and a tower shield. The setting seems to be a princess knight. The Q version of the battle vertical painting is quite exquisite." He said, "Queen Elizabeth should be very handsome, the serious kind." Qian Fang said, "You have a straight face at work and are serious, but in private you are very cute. Vanguard, look at that man. Looking for the lost ship girl." Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 917. Saratoga was lying on the dining table, with her face resting on her forearms, looking weak. "Why hasn't my brother-in-law come back yet?" Unless told in advance, in order to avoid everyone's worries, Sugu would usually come back before dinner every time he went out. Today's dinner started, but he has not returned to the town hall yet. Lexington said, "There must be something delayed." "What's up?" Lexington thought for a moment, like the yacht breaking down. "We have 2 yachts in the garrison. Yuberry was doing maintenance a few days ago, and then he kept complaining and became a repairman. Isn't it just to do something?" "I do so many things every day, when did I shout?" Saratoga said thoughtfully, "I think, well, she usually thinks about occupying her brother-in-law. Could it be that she eloped with her brother-in-law?" "Won't." "Why not?" Saratoga said, "My sister demands extravagantly every night. She is like a wolf at 30 and like a tiger at 40. What should I do if the tax is as fierce as a tiger? I can only evade the tax. As long as the admiral's hug and sweet words are enough, nothing else is needed. After all, the ship girl is a kind of life that is passionate about emotions. It's just 10 times, how could I ask for more every night?" Lexington couldn't help it anymore and hit his sister on the head with chopsticks. "There is only one lion. I believe that my brother-in-law, the biggest pervert in the world, will never give up a forest for a tree." Saratoga said, "So, it must be that the lion and the avant-garde teamed up to kidnap my brother-in-law. York Cheng and Bumblebee are both idiots, and Xiaozai, Quanxiang, and the few little Lolita are no match." Lexington said, "I think you want to kidnap your brother-in-law and then fly away." "Yes, I think so. I want to kidnap my brother-in-law, and take him to a place where no one can find him." Saratoga looked around and curled her lips, especially when she saw Mutsu. She snorted coldly. He said, "Let those group of coquettish hooves and foxy girls look for him. No matter what, he can't be found." Lexington asked funnily, "What about sister?" "As for my sister," Saratoga said, "I allow you to see your brother-in-law once a week. Is Gaga so stingy? Isn't it enough?" "Sister, don't be too greedy," Saratoga said, "it's a lot." "What a wonderful sister I have," Lexington said. "The seats for little girls are not necessarily certain. They are here today and can be there tomorrow. Adults generally have fixed seats. The British seat is near the back door of the canteen, and the German seat is next to it. The Admiral hasn't come back yet. Did something happen to him? Did he meet the deep-sea ship girl, who had stroked Ginger, but unfortunately the fish cake was taken away?" She continued, Abyssal Yamato and the like have been eliminated, but Deep Sea Akagakaga is not there yet. Maybe if you encounter them, it will be difficult. Although the air defense of Lion and Vanguard is good, it is the deep sea flagship. If there is no one escort, how can we stop the overwhelming carrier-based aircraft? Nelson teased Rodney, who said, "Aren't Yorktown and Hornet aircraft carriers? The two of them are a little bit different." "I'm not saying that Bumblebee is really a bit useless," Hood suddenly laughed, and she said, "Lion, Vanguard, Prince of Wales, counterattack. Well, Prince of Wales, your expression, why is it so ugly? Are you uncomfortable?" In Germany, the Prince of Wales was no longer polite. "Hood is the glory of the Royal Navy." She said, "It's okay." Hood suddenly realized, "I remembered that you and counterattack were historically sensitive due to plane bombing and sinking. I'm really sorry." The Prince of Wales said, "That's history and warships, we are now shipmates." "Is it just history? I remember that you and counterattack were a bit phobic of airplanes," Hood said. "I mean, the fate of a battleship affects a ship girl like Reputation 29 Nelson, and now Sharnhorst-Te is scared just looking at her, and Spey is also scared. Prince of Wales, why is your expression so distorted?" The Prince of Wales clenched his fists and said calmly, "I'm still a little afraid of airplanes and things like that." "You said that the fate of a battleship affects a ship's wife. It seems that now, every time I see you and Bismarck together, I am very worried. I'm afraid that history will repeat itself again. I, the Prince of Wales, am behind, watching Hood being beaten by Bismarck, but I can't do anything about it." Upon hearing this, Hood patted the table lightly and stood up. "Prince of Wales, you bully me, make fun of me, and call me a good sister. Don't fight internally. What I say is fair, and it's really fair," Guangrong said. "Hood, you go first." "Really?" Hood thought for a while, sat down, and smiled coquettishly. "Prince of Wales, don't pay attention, I didn't mean to do it." Hood looked at not far away, where Bulletin Rao and Dafeng were sitting together. As a British family, he was actually mixed with a Japanese family. She said, "It's all Bulletin Rao's fault. He was so good, why did he run aground on the coral reef? If not she, the Prince of Wales and the counterattack would not have been sunk by planes, and the era of big ships and big guns would not have ended so quickly, and then." Guangrong Yuyo said, "It's not Boneo's fault, it's Chiu Chuji who passed by Nyojia village." Hood asked, "Who is Chiu Chuji? Didn't the Admiral tell you that story?" Guangrong wondered. "No. Ask him to tell you." "Okay," Hood said, "if you don't tell me tonight, don't touch me." "Normally." Cough cough cough, counterattack cough interrupts Hood, "How can you say everything?" She felt that something was wrong with Hood's state. He was still very dignified and elegant under normal circumstances, so she asked, "Hood, you, how many hours did you take a nap at noon? What time did you get up?" "I think I went to bed at 2 o'clock, and then got up before eating, maybe 3 or 4 hours. I fell asleep." Hood said, "Prestige doesn't call me." Reputation silently said, "Well, blame me." Sugu rushed back and saw that all the British people were quiet. Although they called themselves ladies and did not pay attention to eating or sleeping, under the current situation, a group of best friends had a small quarrel, but they were far from angry. "And when I left the table, I was just waiting for one person to mediate the atmosphere. What's wrong with you?" "It's okay," he countered, "Master, why did you come back now?" "Look who I brought back," Sugu said. A gray-haired girl came out from behind Sugu. "Silly Ely," Guangrong was surprised. "Say one more thing." Guangrong waved his hand quickly, "Just say it casually, don't take it so seriously." The Prince of Wales said, "The Lion and the Vanguard have come back a long time ago, why are you coming back now?" "The Lion and the Avant-Garde left, leaving me alone to take over the work. The gray-haired girl looked at the lion and the avant-garde. The lion was indifferent and the avant-garde was shy. Elizabeth just came back. It was a coincidence that we met her on the pier. Sugu really didn't expect at first that the cute girl who looked like a foodie was actually on the Queen Elizabeth. We talked for a while, so we have been delayed until now. Return. Sugu sat down next to the Prince of Wales, and saw that her expression was not good, and she did not dare to make any jokes, like, "Queen Elizabeth, your mother, she is back now." Of course he knew that the Queen Elizabeth was named after Elizabeth I, not some long-term standby, slutty American president, or the ironclad Queen of England. Of course, the other party was still worthy of respect. Elizabeth I never married, and used her advantage of being unmarried to travel around Europe. She fought for the greatest diplomatic interests for Britain, and was therefore also known as the Virgin Queen because she had no heirs. HMS Prince of Wales, the second ship of the King George V class, was actually originally proposed to be named King Edward VIII. It was just that King Edward VIII had a premonition that he might be ill-fated, so he decided to cancel the proposal and proposed naming it after the Prince of Wales. In short, King Edward VIII is the son of King George V. Even if the Prince of Wales belongs to the title, it is usually awarded to the eldest son of the King of England, who is also the Crown Prince. Many admirals keep saying that the Prince of Wales is not the daughter of Queen Elizabeth, but, with the British the King George V is not a sister, it should be a mother and daughter. Then the Duke of York is usually awarded to the second son of the King of England. King George VI is U. The second son of George V was once the Duke of York, but became the king by accident. That's why King George V, the Prince of Wales, and the Duke of York are not three sisters, but a mother and her two daughters. Thinking about it is very exciting and makes people's blood boil. Sugu smiled mysteriously, and the Prince of Wales felt a little uncomfortable. He didn't know why. Hood said, "I'm just back now, can't you guys talk while we're walking?" Forgot. Sugu asked with a smile, "What happened?" "Hu Dijiang is worried about me." Guangrong said, "She is worried about you? She cursed you to meet Akagakaga in the deep sea." "No, there is no curse," Hood quickly defended, "I'm just saying it's possible. Let's take a guess. Otherwise, why haven't you come back yet? I am the Admiral's wedding ship. If he is attacked by the deep-sea ship girl, I will definitely avenge him. Destroy all the deep-sea ship girls, even if they die, even if they become demons." Sugu said, "Hood-chan, you have passed." Hood was stroking Ginger and seemed very happy. Elizabeth sat down opposite Counterattack, feeling quite happy to finally see her former sisters. "Counterattack, I heard that you have become a wedding ship, congratulations." "Hood, where did you go after you left the town hall? Did it succeed gloriously? Turn into an aircraft carrier?" Friends met again and had a good chat for a while. It was just time to eat, everyone was there. York City had already met. Sugu took Queen Elizabeth, and was going to take her to get to know the new ship girl who joined the garrison. Missouri and Hindenburg are both battleships, very powerful ones. They used to have battle groups under the ship's headquarters. Sugu saw that Hindenburg's face was a little red. It turned out that the silly elder sister also had a shy side. Speaking of Missouri, don't bully Hindenburg anymore, don't go too far." Missouri was dissatisfied and said, "A dog bites Lu Dongbin and doesn't know a good heart. I am helping you. What can you help me with?" Missouri thought to herself, "Helping you trick Hindenburg into bed, you will know when the time comes." "Forget it, I'm too lazy to pay attention to you." Sugu introduced, "This is the battleship Queen Elizabeth. It just came back." Elizabeth said, "Hello. Hello. Hello. Destroyer Cushing, Mayan's sister." Sugu said, "Cushing, my name is Sister Elizabeth." Cushing was very energetic, but also very obedient, sweetly calling, "Sister Elizabeth." "Ko, battleship, Andrea's sister, You can also call her Marina. Ko pulled Sugu's pants. Admiral, don't say that nickname. The strongest light mother, Graf Zeppelin, used to be an instructor at the Chuangziu Naval Academy. Zeppelin waved his pointer. Who do you think is the strongest? I'm talking about you, Zeppelin. Sugu didn't dare to joke like this before, until Zeppelin officially called him Admiral, and it took a long time before he became familiar with him. After listening to Sugu's introduction, Chi Bolin said, Queen Elizabeth, the sister of Dean Warspite. Sugu said, from a battleship perspective, yes, Elizabeth is indeed the war-weary sister. Zeppelin started to laugh. My Admiral, what are you saying? As long as you have Elizabeth, won't it be easy to win over war-tired? Forget it, Sugu said, I can't bear it. Why? Sugu said, although she looks very beautiful and dresses a little more stylishly, it's okay to call her a 17-year-old beautiful girl, but in terms of mental age, she must be at least a 17-year-old and 700-month-old grandmother. Are you really not afraid that she will hear it? Sugu said, it's okay, she can't hear it. I heard. Sugu clapped his hands, clasped his hands together, and bowed. Sister Chi Berlin, please don't say anything. You guys slander this war-weary old lady, but as history says, the action was well executed. There is no doubt that when this respectable old lady lifted up her skirt, she could still run. Zeppelin said, although Principal Jean is indeed becoming more and more old-fashioned now, do you know what she was like when she was young? What does it look like? Her lines. Records are meant to be broken. The Royal Navy must fight whenever it encounters the enemy. A general must take the lead in order to gain their trust. In short, he conquers the world with a pair of iron fists, cheerful, chic and handsome. Her stand, I don't know how many people have imitated her posture. Just think about it, just think of the war-weariness of the Battle of Jutland. Zeppelin said, otherwise, why would she be the Dean of the Academy? Her status is only higher than that of the Enterprise. The Enterprise, when you meet her, you should call her Senior. Elizabeth was listening and murmured to herself, war-satisfied. Such a powerful war-satisfied, I really want to meet him. Zeppelin said, I can take you to see him. Really? Elizabeth was delighted, and the serious knight turned into an innocent girl. Sugu said, see you soon, Chi Bolin, don't be too troublesome. The Dean is war-weary, it's not that I dislike her. It's really stressful to see her. I regard her as an elder. People still don't care about you, Zeppelin said again, you feel less stressed when you see me. There is no pressure, Sugu said, even a little pitiful, Shishin's little nanny. Zeppelin rubbed his forehead, I think no one is taking care of Akagya. After the introduction, dinner, and Zhengli took Elizabeth to clean up the room, Sugu always felt that something was missing and didn't know what was wrong. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 918. Fletcher did his best for his three sisters. New Orleans feels that he is no better than Fletcher, and his sister Quincy is difficult to deal with. He must stay close to her every day, otherwise something will happen. It's rare that someone is willing to take care of Quincy. He finally has a day off. He sleeps on the grass in the morning and enjoys the warm winter sunshine. He has a good sleep at noon. No one stops rolling around on the bed, and some even eat potato chips while rolling. Or something, leaving the bed full of food scraps. Sitting on the rocks by the sea in the afternoon blowing in the wind, I couldn't be happier. Well, I have to admit, I still miss my sister a little bit when she's not here. In the cafeteria, New Orleans looked at his sister sitting opposite him with a happy face. Akin, where did you play today? York City has lived in Chuangziu for a long time, and has been to all places in Chuangziu. Quincy said where she took him, and what she ate. She didn't look like a stingy sister, just give her a shout. Her sister bought everything, which made New Orleans' teeth itch with anger. Finally, she smiled sweetly, Admiral, Admiral also bought me a piece of clothing. New Orleans said, then did you thank the Admiral? Quincy nodded heavily. Of course the two sisters live together. How can Quincy have the ability to take care of himself? He still has it, so he can't be too slanderous. In the evening, New Orleans sat by the bed, rummaged through the paper bag Quincy brought back, took out a white skirt, stood in front of the floor-length mirror and made some gestures, thinking that beauty is beautiful, but a wraparound skirt is not suitable for the season. Is there anything else? New Orleans put down his clothes and took out a white veil from the paper bag. What is this? New Orleans' common sense cannot be questioned, no way. Akin, New Orleans called twice, remembering that his sister was taking a bath, and suddenly a bold idea came to his mind. She played with the veil, even wearing it herself before taking it off again when she felt a little embarrassed. After waiting for a while, Quincy, with wet hair, walked out of the bathroom with her slippers clicking. She quickly took a towel and ran over to wipe her hair and body with a mysterious smile. Akin, I ask you. New Orleans said, Akin, did you get the Admiral's ring? What ring? You're still pretending, I've seen it all. New Orleans said, where is the oath ring? Let me take a look. There is no oath ring. New Orleans said, the Admiral hasn't given it to you yet. Why did the Admiral give me a ring? Quincy said, I'm not a wedding ship. The smile gradually disappeared, and it turned out to be delusion. New Orleans pointed to the wedding dress on the bed. What is that about? Quincy explained what the situation was. New Orleans said, it's not a wedding ship, it doesn't have a ring. What kind of wedding dress do you want? Quincy duck. New Orleans looked left and right, not knowing what to do. At a loss, helpless and furious, she found a pair of pajamas from the closet for Quincy, grabbed her wrist and walked outside, making sure to settle the score with the Admiral. In the corridor of the dormitory building, West Virginia watched New Orleans drag Quincy angrily past, and she said to herself, what mistake did Quincy make again? Admiral, you have the ability to bully Quincy, you have the ability to open the door. Joan of Arc's room was not far from Sugu's room. She opened the door and said, it's so loud. Don't knock on the door in New Orleans. There's no one inside. The Admiral isn't here. New Orleans asked, where did he go? Have no idea. No one was found in Sugu's room. After a while, New Orleans encountered quite an embarrassing problem. There were no outsiders in the garrison, except for the Admiral, who was also her husband, and they were all girls. Bismarck didn't pay much attention. She heard a knock on the door and opened the door wearing only her underwear. New Orleans, what can I do for you? Bismarck, is the Admiral here with you? Not here. New Orleans found Helena's room again. Helena leaned against the door with a resentful expression. The Admiral hasn't been here for a week. In New Orleans, Helena's long blue hair was curled up, and the chest of her thin white shirt was tightened, almost squeezing the shirt. A gap appeared between the two buttons due to the squeeze, revealing a delicate milky white. There were also deep ravines, she thought. Why should a light cruiser be used? Lexington stood at the door of the room, smiling and shaking his head. How could it be here with me? He said without a good expression. Prince of Wales, counterattack, Colorado, Missouri. New Orleans got a negative answer from Richelieu. He walked through the corridor and down the corridor, looking at his silly sister Quincy with a slightly sad expression. Admiral, where are you? She searched the wedding ship's rooms one by one, but none of them were there. She even looked in Elizabeth's room, maybe chatting there, but there was none. New Orleans suddenly thought of something. She stood in front of a room and hesitated for a long time. Reaching out hesitantly. Beige nightgown, lazy pink short hair, the cutest in the world. Zai opened the door. Sister chicken leg fort. New Orleans asked, Xiaozai, is the admiral here with you? Xiaozai replied, not here. New Orleans beat its head and almost went crazy. Where did it go? Finally, she found Sugu in the U-boat room. She saw him lying on the bed of U-47, holding up a fairy tale book and telling stories to several young girls. She was furious, her chest rising and falling with her breathing. Admiral, you are not in your own room, what are you doing here? Sugu sat up and asked, New Orleans, what do you want from me? What's the matter? What are you asking me for? What's the matter? She looked around and found her tired. New Orleans was a little confused for a moment. She grabbed her hair and frowned. Elder sister. Until Quincy's weak voice sounded, New Orleans woke up, and she shouted, what's going on? Admiral, doesn't he know something? You idiot, stupid pig, you deserve to be struck by lightning, irresponsible admiral, I'm going to blow your ass off. When Sugu discovered Quincy, he suddenly realized, how should I say? Quincy wanted it, so he bought it? So simple. Quincy doesn't understand, and you don't understand either, New Orleans said, can anyone wear a wedding dress? Quincy is not a wedding dress. If he walks around in a wedding dress, what will others think? What should I say? Look at that idiot, he's wearing a wedding dress even though he's not on a wedding ship, he's so shameless. In fact, Sugu was reluctant at first, mainly because Quincy was pitiful, and York City and Bumblebee were there to persuade him. He quoted what the two people said, what kind of wedding dress? As long as you don't wear that veil, no one else can see it. It's a wedding dress, maybe, it's not as good as yours. My dress, no matter how much it looks like a wedding dress, is not a wedding dress after all, New Orleans said. Quincy's dress, even without the veil, doesn't look like a wedding dress, but it is a wedding dress. Sugu thought for a moment, even if it's a wedding dress, it's no big deal. No big deal, New Orleans said. I don't want Quincy to become the next South Dakota and make people laugh. South Dakota lay on the bed and looked at the ring on his hand. He had to look at it every night before going to bed. He thought about it day by day and dreamed about it at night. Where would it be better to travel with the Admiral tonight? Chuangziu has been there several times. Fujiang City is not interesting. Otherwise, she would go to Minjiao Lake. She suddenly sneezed and rubbed her nose. Who is thinking of me? It must be the Admiral. Sugu explained carefully that South Dakota was fine. When he saw New Orleans' sharp eyes, he quickly shut up. Okay, everyone knows it. Even if you don't know it now, you will know it tomorrow, New Orleans said. Maid uniforms, Cheongsams, nurse uniforms, and all that mess. You like this kind of thing. If others don't have rings, it's absolutely if you don't want a wedding dress, just bully us Quincy idiots. She cried as she spoke. Admiral didn't bully me, I wanted it, Quincy said, and I'm not a fool. Although Quincy was very arrogant and didn't care at all. As a sister, New Orleans would never call her sister stupid. This time, she couldn't bear it anymore. New Orleans gave her such a hard blow on the forehead that she was furious. You, if it's not an idiot, who is an idiot? Don't say anything. Oh. New Orleans kept questioning Sugu, but Sugu reluctantly raised his hands and surrendered. Okay, I was wrong. Is it okay if I'm wrong? Then what do you think we should do? New Orleans paused. She dragged Quincy over to look for trouble. She really didn't think about how to solve the problem. Marriage, a word crossed her mind. She thought to herself that her sister already liked the Admiral, and she would be very happy. If the Admiral married her and she became a wedding ship, others would not dare to look down on her anymore. To be fair, if it is his wife or wedding ship, the Admiral will definitely try his best to take care of it, and he will be relaxed. It was a God-given opportunity. Thinking of this, she said in New Orleans, It's already like this. Otherwise, let's do this. It's a mistake. The admiral will just marry Akin, and everyone will have nothing to say. Sugu couldn't believe it. What did you say? New Orleans said word for word, I said the admiral married Akin. Several small U-boats sat in a row. U-47 leaned into U-505's ear and whispered, forced marriage. U-505 nodded repeatedly. Sugu said, isn't it a bit too childish? New Orleans said, where's the kidding? Sugu was amused, what's not kidding? You mean you don't want to? New Orleans dragged Quincy around to look for the admiral, with an angry look on his face, and many people saw it. Of course, sleeping is not as important as watching the excitement. They came to watch, wanting to see what was going on. Someone in the crowd said, how can you, chicken leg burger, force you to get married? The admiral even gave Quincy a ring, but South Dakota still has a ring. No one treats her as a wedding ship. Is Quincy any different? New Orleans was speechless, lost in thought. Ruhi was wearing pajamas, she sneered, it's just a wedding dress, is it necessary to make it so exaggerated? Your sister Quincy is wearing a wedding dress, isn't my sister wearing a wedding dress? Sigsby said, the admiral has seen my sister naked, so he must give her a ring. He cannot be irresponsible. Someone asked in a low voice, the admiral saw Fletcher naked, Sigbus, what's going on? Sigsby explained vividly. Fletcher is still very popular in the governor's house. She is a cute little maid. Someone spoke up for her, I don't know if I don't tell you. Admiral, you have done such an outrageous thing and refused to give me a ring. You are bullying others. Fletcher is afraid of you, so you don't dare to speak out. Ruhi interrupted, my sister was also seen by him when we were at the Hot Spring Hotel. Chong Chun suddenly said, I slept with the admiral, and the admiral took away my first kiss. Yuxian didn't come, but Chung Ching came. She said expressionlessly, Admiral, what's going on? Are you still shameless and bully little Chong Chun who doesn't know anything? As her elder, I want justice. Sugu thought for a while, he had obviously never done that kind of thing, but something suddenly occurred to him. He quickly defended himself, telling the story of what happened in the shrine when he was looking for Ayanamai and Fubuki. Chung Ching said, you are such a big man, don't you know how to avoid suspicion? Sleep in the same room with little Chong Chun. She insisted on sleeping with me. Chung Ching said, I don't understand, why does she insist on sleeping with you? Sugu said, because except for her, who is in charge of fisheries, everyone is Japanese, so they are incompatible with each other. Chung Ching asked again, then why did Chong Chun get into your quilt and what did you do? Chong Chun said, the admiral tells ghost stories, it's so scary. Okay, Chung Ching suddenly raised his voice, Admiral, your tricks are deep. Sugu said, I didn't mean to do it. I didn't know she was afraid of ghost stories. Admiral, tell me, what little girl is not afraid of ghost stories? Chung Ching sneered, as long as you tell someone to come out, I will believe you. U-47 suddenly broke the news, I saw the admiral touching Sister Blucher. Helena did not miss the excitement. She came out in a slightly see-through lace nightgown and applauded, Admiral, this is amazing. Sugu was shocked, U-47, don't talk nonsense. When did I touch Blucher? Why didn't I know? When we were at the beach. Sugu knocked his head and breathed a sigh of relief, I'm just helping to apply sunscreen. I've applied it to many people, what's the big deal? Helena shrugged her shoulders and said in a gloomy voice, you mean the Admiral has touched many people? Tennessee said, Admiral, you don't want to admit anything about my sister in California. What happened in California? What did I do? Sugu said, I know what you are talking about. Well, she was racing too fast. I was really a little scared, so I hugged her. He touched her waist, but it was just a subconscious move, not a hooliganism. Tennessee said, it was a subconscious action to hold her waist while racing. So what's the matter with you still holding her after the racing is over? There has to be a recovery time. I was still dizzy and weak in my feet just after getting off the car, Sugu said. California helped me, and then I subconsciously hugged her while I was dizzy. It's not difficult to understand. Atlanta squeezed out from the crowd. She said, I pull Santiago's tail every day. I told you, the tail is a sensitive point. I remembered that you touched the archer fish's butt before. Helena was talking about Sugu playing games, which was real to them. Sugu said, don't settle old scores. Helena said, do you dare to do it or not? Sugu had nothing to say. Suzwe opened his mouth and said that what happened between him and Fei Ying was just gossip. Suzwe said again, saying that there was no basis for what happened between him and the sisters Tianlong and Ryada. Suzwe couldn't stop at all. This time he talked about him and Fuzu again. This was considered true and false. York was not to be outdone. The bald eagle Belmacan didn't know when he came. He was standing on the iron frame. He just said something and was thrown away. All in all, the U-boat room was full of people, noisy, and turned into a vegetable market. New Orleans took his sister Quincy and left. When he went out, he looked back and looked deeply at Sugu. At a glance, this kind of admiral is hopeless. Wisconsin listened, and asked 2 questions at the right time to add fuel to the fire. It's so interesting. If I don't leave, I definitely won't leave. Where can I find such an interesting garrison in the world? Sugu felt that his glorious and majestic image would no longer exist from now on, and his character had hit rock bottom. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 919. Elizabeth, you are really lucky to have encountered a big drama just after you came back. Elizabeth looked at the glorious, serious girl and didn't think this was anything interesting. I'm lucky enough to see such fun things, so it suddenly dawns on me. When Chung Ching heard what Jia he said, he thought that it was not clear. Tennessee said, I know Fletcher, but I really don't know that little Chong Chun had her first kiss and got under the covers. It's incredible. Nevada said, Fuzu has been keeping quiet. I didn't expect the progress to be so fast. What a dark horse. No matter how bad it is, there is only one admiral. No matter how bad it is, teeth will be knocked out and blood will be swallowed. After a lot of criticism, it was almost over. The main reason was that Sugu slept on U-47's bed. He was still defensive at first, but then he looked at the graffiti painted on the wall and became silent. As if he was a dead pig not afraid of boiling water, the group of people finally left U-47. In the boat's dormitory, walking in the corridor, there was a lot of discussion. Missouri, aren't you leaving yet? 2 people did not leave, they were Helena and Missouri. Missouri played with the ornaments on U-505's desk, a wind-up music box that made 2 little figures dance when it was opened, and wrote lightly, I'm sorry, I have an appointment. Helena wanted to steal the chicken, but she curled her lips in disgust, snorted and left. Hey, Missouri, where did I have an appointment with you? Why didn't I know? Sugu sat up at this time and saw Missouri smiling like a chicken. She was definitely an eccentric. He lay on the bed again, shaking his hand. You go, I'm not going anywhere today. Today I want to sleep with U-47, no, with U-81. U-81 panicked. You perverted little girl. Missouri patted U-47's bed. Of course, Sugu just said, stop filming, I'll sleep for a while and then get up. Hey, is the Admiral leaving? Isn't the Admiral sleeping here? U-47 lay on Sugu's belly. I want to sleep with you. You want to hear a story? U-47 must have wanted something else. Sugu knew this very well. He said, "No, what did you just say? I saw the Admiral touching Sister Blucher." "Admiral, I touched him, and I didn't say anything nonsense. I touched his back and butt." U-47 puffed up his cheeks and made a face. "You still said that." Sugu gritted his teeth, picked up U-47 and kissed him hard. When U-47 wiped the drool on his face, he jumped out of bed. Sugu was still a little worried and asked Missouri, "Have everyone dispersed?" Missouri replied, "It's gone." Sugu did not go back to his room, but went to Missouri's room. As soon as he entered the door, he took off his shoes and stepped on the wooden floor with his bare feet, threw himself on the bed, and sighed. Missouri said, "The evil done by God can be forgiven, but the evil done by oneself cannot be lived." "Chicken leg for it." Sugu gritted his teeth and spoke every word. Missouri said, "It's so shameless to blame someone else's chicken leg burger. You should have thought of today when you made it." "I know," Sugu said, "but, what I want to say is, if I bully Quincy, let's just forget about her causing trouble for me. How come all the people from the guardhouse are here? Who told you to run to the U-boat room instead of staying in your own room?" Missouri said, "Did you know? New Orleans took Quincy and knocked on the doors of all the rooms on your wedding ship. I was originally everyone is getting ready for bed, and there are even rooms for Washington, Mutsu, Kotaku, and Yitsun." Sugu had a painful expression on his face. Missouri climbed onto the bed, lay down next to Sugu, looked at him sideways, and said funnily, "To be honest, you are really awesome. There are so many tricks coming out one after another, from big to small, from Fuzang to Little Changchun. Are you killing me? Let it go." "I'll explain it again," Sugu said, "there are no routines. I don't even know any routines. This is gloating, even if the other person is her husband." Missouri said, "It's night now, there will be something to do tomorrow." Sugu said, "Stop talking." "I have a solution," Missouri said. "Any solution?" "Married," Missouri said, "the Admiral has married everyone, so no one will talk about it." "Good idea." Sugu naturally said it casually. He thought for a while. The memory of a fish is 7 seconds, and the memory of netizens is 2 weeks. In a few days, no one will remember this matter. "What were you thinking just now?" "I forgot, by the way, today is December 17th, and it will be Christmas in a few days." Find something for them to do, so as to save them from gossiping all day. They can start busy tomorrow and prepare to decorate the townhouse." "Is it Christmas in just a few days?" Missouri was surprised. "It feels like it's gone by so fast. 1 year has passed in a flash. Happy days always pass so quickly." Sugu had a headache again. "I have to prepare gifts for everyone again. There are so many people, and everyone has to be unique. It's very troublesome." "A Christmas gift," Missouri murmured to herself, and then asked Sugu, "What gift do you want?" "Have no idea. I don't know. I just don't know. Last Christmas, everyone gave you Christmas gifts." "Who did you like the most?" Missouri said, "Zai's gift must be hers, even if she just gave you a hand-folded paper crane, or a cheap Christmas card and an apple will probably make you so happy that you can't find the north. How can it be so casual?" "The Christmas gift Zai gave me was very nice and thoughtful." Sugu shook his head and said, "But my favorite Christmas gift is not hers, but Bizai's." "Bizai?" Missouri was surprised. "What gift did she give you?" "What can't be said, can't be said." Missouri stretched out his hand to pull Sugu's face. "You smile so obscenely, I know what it is, that one." "You know it again," Sugu said, "don't try to trick me, it's useless." Missouri dismissed it and said, "Isn't it just wearing Christmas clothes as a Christmas gift? Can you guess this?" "I saw it." Missouri paused and asked, No way, besides herself, does she really have no other Christmas gift for you? Sugu said, no. She's really amazing. You know, don't think of yourself as a Christmas gift like her. The first person to compare women to flowers is a genius, the second person to compare women to flowers is mediocre, and the third person to compare women to flowers is stupid. Talented Sugu suddenly wondered if he could give himself as a Christmas gift to his sister-in-law Saratoga this year, which would definitely satisfy her. It seemed a bit dirty. Missouri said politely, "You are so beautiful." "Forget it from Bazai, I can't do anything with her," Sugu said. "What you said has already been eaten up. I want a gift." Missouri suddenly laughed. "How about giving Hindenburg to you as a Christmas gift?" "What the hell?" Missouri said, "Although her skin is a little pale, she has a good figure. Her breasts are big enough, and her butt is also big. Her waist is also very thin. It's okay to say it's a wasp's waist. I can hold it in my hand. I touched it and it felt very tactile. You just like to bully people, Hindenburg. She's golden and jade, but she's slutty on the outside. No, it should be said that she's fierce in appearance and soft on the inside. She looks mad, but she actually has the heart of a girl. I'm shy about kissing her or anything like that, but when I say something else, her face turns red and she bleeds." Missouri looked at the ceiling and stretched out his hands, and said with a smile, "It's easy to get her. If you invite her on a date, she will definitely refuse. Tell her directly the date, place and time, and you will definitely see her then. Give her a gift, and she will definitely refuse. No matter, just put down the gift and leave. The good feelings are almost over, just hold her hand. She will definitely threaten that I will hit her if you don't let go. Don't worry, she won't do it. Then kiss her, force her to kiss her, push her down." Sugu thought about Hindenburg's character and felt that Missouri's words made sense. If she had met a stronger and domineering admiral before, she would have been snatched away without me taking action. Missouri said, "It's a pity that most people don't dare to see her menacing look." Sugu admitted, "To be honest, I was a little worried when I first saw her. She is so tall and she looks fierce." "How about it?" Missouri said excitedly, "if you put some thought into it, Hindenburg can be captured." Sugu said, "It smells a bit like a bustard." Missouri slapped him hard. Sugu said, "Dare to ask me's mother?" Sugu paused for a moment, then thought for a moment and said, "How about Wisconsin?" "I knew you had thoughts about her," Missouri said. "I just said it casually." "It's no big deal to admit that you have ideas," Missouri said. "After all, although Wisconsin's breasts are a little smaller, his figure is not bad at all. That butt, especially those long legs, tisk tisk, tisk tisk, the most important thing is that he is sexy enough, even if Mutsu's coquettish hooves are no match either." Sugu said, "It's not good for you to say that about your sister. I am praising her. If a woman calls another woman beautiful, she is definitely not beautiful. If a woman calls another woman coquettish, 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 or vixen, it means that woman is beautiful." Missouri was non-committal. "Okay, you have a point." Missouri said, "Wisconsin is in a higher rank than Hindenburg and is much more difficult to deal with." Sugu said, "I think the main reason is that Hindenburg's rank is too low." "Silly sister," Missouri smiled, and she took a pillow and hugged her. "Anyway, Wisconsin likes to watch the theater the most. Watching his actions and listening to his words is definitely offensive." "Oh. The handle, take the initiative to hand it over to her. By the way, didn't you give her the accounting job some time ago? In that case, let her get the bills of who you were having affairs with, and buying gifts for." "Details," Missouri said, "or maybe he was having an affair with so-and-so and wanted her to find out." Sugu said, "Let's not talk about the affair, let's talk about something else." "But apart from the affair, you have nothing else to give," Missouri said. The townhouse is not a company, it belongs to the family, and there is no such thing as corruption. It is too childish to secretly eat snacks from little Lolita. Peeping at everyone take a shower, or steal everyone's underwear, this kind of thing is too despicable. Sugu questioned, isn't having an affair considered dirty? Of course not, Missouri said, the Admiral and I are in love, but we are just having an affair with the ship's wife who has not yet become a wedding ship. It is not a problem and it is harmless. Okay, Sugu said, you continue. Missouri said, are you thinking of having an affair with someone? Missouri, you are becoming more and more like Gaga now, are you so sensitive? He didn't care before, but now he cares more and more. Missouri rubbed his forehead and returned to the topic, anyway, I will give the handle to Wisconsin. I will find her later and ask her not to tell her. She said that as long as she doesn't tell, she will do anything. With her his character must not mind teasing and threatening you, hey, he, I won't go into details. Awesome, I admire you. Missouri said proudly, it's a small matter. What about Nagato? Nagato, asked Mutsu, I'm not familiar with her, Missouri said, but she definitely likes strong men, maybe, because she is already very strong, it is possible that she likes little men who need her. Sisters often I like my brother. Sugu added, CV-16. You ask MRS-16, Missouri said, Lexington has already done it for you. Now you go knock on her door, give her the ring, and you can stay in her room at night. KO, Sugu paused, Zeppelin. Missouri couldn't help it anymore, did I say you really don't have any consciousness? Sugu smiled coquettishly, as if he was pushing too far. Missouri said, your ambition is too big. Do you really want to spare no one from the entire garrison? It's fun to ask, Sugu said. Whether it's Zeppelin or KO, I know how to deal with them. KO, she doesn't like to study, but her sister Andrea forces her to study every day. This is the breakthrough. Chi Berlin has been completely occupied now. Isn't it easy just to ask the Z-Driver gang for help? Missouri smiled, it's a pity that I know everything, but I'm just a coward. Let's not talk about it. Sugu felt that he often worried too much and could do nothing if he knew the key point. He changed the subject, it's Christmas, and the Colossus will come if she likes to bark. She will come by herself. Think about it, it's better to bark. Plan M, this is possible, let Hipper call him, I don't know if he will come, he didn't come last year. As for the Enterprise, I'll leave it to you. If it's Christmas, the company will definitely not come. As the eldest sister, she can't leave such an important holiday, Missouri said, I can try it on New Year's Eve. Because of you, we regard New Year's Eve as very important, and they regard it as very important. New Year's Eve is not that important, maybe she can come over. The sea breeze blew up the curtains, and it was getting ready to go to bed late at night. Missouri took off her coat, revealing her belly band, with gold embroidery on a black background, stroking her long brown hair, and said seductively, no more talking, I'm going to bed. Sleep? Don't be in a hurry. Sugu threw her down. Missouri put her arms around his neck and tightened. Sure enough, Sugu was booed the next day and he could only sacrifice Christmas. Time passed day by day, getting closer and closer to Christmas, and the company could not come. In a sense, she sent her Christmas gift in advance. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 920. Is she Claxton? There were only a few days until Christmas, and the town hall was almost decorated. On this day, the company brought a cute little girl to the town hall. The little girl has long gray hair, blue eyes, a cute face, and cat ears on top of her head, which looks like a folded cat. She is not tall and wears a beautiful little skirt with a cattail sticking out from under the skirt. To be honest, Sugu had already given up. He really didn't expect happiness to come so suddenly, so he stood under the magnolia tree and watched her surrounding Fletcher in a black and white maid outfit, chirping something while spinning around, and Siggers, B. Sullivan, and Thatcher were nearby. Although they had been introduced, they were still a little confused. Yes, she is Clarkston. Enterprise folded his arms and showed a smile. I do what I say, and when I say Clarkston, I am Clarkston. You don't think I'm lying to you, do I? Person. How can that be possible? Of course I believe you, Sugu said confidently. If the company doesn't believe it, who else deserves to be trusted? Missouri stood aside and pouted, wondering who it was that was scolding someone for not keeping their word, for 10 minutes without stopping, once a day. She spoke deliberately, but after seeing Sugu's wink, she finally didn't try to cause trouble. The company said, you know what's going on. Not only Clarkston, but also the light cruiser Montpelier. Sugu said, I have always believed that the company will never let me down. Are you reminding me? The company sneered, don't push yourself too far. Sugu quickly apologized and smiled, I just said casually, the company should not think too much. Enterprise was non-committal, and she said, what about Clarkston? Cute. Sugu nodded. Actually, being cute is not the key. The key is. The company decided to play it safe, and she waved her hand, you will know when the time comes. He's a brain in love in normal admiral gatherings, as long as destroyers are mentioned, fantasy, law fight, etc. are really rare. Among the relatively popular destroyers, Minfeng is definitely indispensable. The Little Beaver team is a frequent visitor, and among them, Clark. Sugu paused and said, I know. You have studied it. Yes, it is a rare love-brain destroyer. Enterprise said, I don't know, you don't know how many admirals are coveting her. In the past few days, there have been more than a dozen well-informed admirals. She came to me and hoped that I would give her a chance to get in touch with her and that she would not mind sponsoring our Ship Girl branch, but I refused them all. Still sponsoring? That's too exaggerated. Missouri stood up and said, as for enterprises, you don't need to take credit anymore. Our town government has helped you a lot. Of course, the company knew that Missouri had become a wedding ship, otherwise she would not have come in person this time to send Clarkston over. Another purpose of coming here this time was to bless her good friend. She said, you are really married this time. The daughter who went out was splashed with water and her elbows were turned outward. You are the married daughter. Who are you? Missouri stretched out her hand. She still remembered the company's promise, red envelope. I can't do without you. Enterprise slapped Missouri's outstretched hand. I've never seen someone like you asking for red envelopes. Can you be ashamed? Missouri scoffed. Even if Clarkston is just a destroyer, a little girl, and the head of the Ship Girl branch of a huge enterprise, it is not something she can arrange. She can join whichever townhouse she wants to join. She can only be a matchmaker, can she? Another story about fishing. It seems that a certain admiral who has only the Kaohsiung so far, the Ship Girl headquarters has helped him introduce each Ship Girl to him, but he can't help a do. Claxton and Sigsby didn't know what they were talking about. They were waving and gesticulating happily. Sugu saw this in his eyes. Only by knowing yourself and the other side can you win every battle. He asked, Enterprise, please bring Claxton over here. What excuse did you use? Enterprise said, I asked Claxton if she wanted to meet my sister, Fletcher. She nodded, and then I brought her over. The destroyer USS Fletcher is rare in the world, its rarity is off the charts, and it is a ship girl who lives in urban legends. There is definitely no problem in breaking through from Fletcher, but... Sugu sighed and said, look at Fletcher, he just giggles. It would be great if she was as good as Lexington. Lexington half of Atsushi's level is fine, no, just 1/3 of Atsushi's level, then I don't have to worry about anything. Enterprise looked at Sugu and suddenly became amused. Hey, Mr. Sug, I heard that you saw Fletcher's body naked. How do you know? Sugu thought that even if the people in the guarding mansion knew, how would the company know about it? Who told you? Don't ask me, you just know. There is a traitor, Missouri, do you know? Sugu said, don't stare at me with bulging eyes. If I didn't mention you, it must be York City. Enterprise said, let me think about it, Mr. Su, Fletcher must like you. As long as you marry her, she will become Claxton's brother-in-law. You will definitely be able to capture her and win her easily. If I hadn't known about Fletcher, Sugu said, I would have suspected that she had found you in advance and asked you to speak up for her. Enterprise asked, are you really not planning to marry Fletcher? Sugu said, don't you think she is still a girl, too young? Enterprise stared at Fletcher's plump bust, it's obviously not too small. Sugu squinted at the company and shook his head. Ayanamai hadn't found anything about Fletcher's ring yet, so he asked, what does Claxton like? I'm not sure, she came from the Yadeo department not long ago. Enterprise lowered his head, by the way, the minister of the Yadeo department asked me to take good care of her. I feel ashamed to be with her and push her to hell with my own hands. What hell? Sugu said, take care of her, we will take good care of her. Lilikan will join the gendarmerie sooner or later. 3 years of blood gain, the death penalty is not a loss. What does Clarkston like? Enterprise said to himself, actually, you should know. Although Weenwen Township is the tomb of heroes and Admiral Lexington makes machines, Sugu never forgets to learn and will never be a loser. He said, historically, the destroyer squadron to which the Fletcher-class Clarkston belongs is also known as Little Beaver Squadron, because the squadron members joked about being like beavers busying themselves with trivial matters, and Claxton drew the badge for it, drawing, it must be drawing, she loved drawing. Enterprise nodded, it seems that Clarkston likes to draw. There are many crayon drawings in her luggage. Sugu's smile faded, Enterprise, you must have done it on purpose. Yes, I did it on purpose. Enterprise raised his chin, feeling a little proud. Forget it, it doesn't matter to you. Consultant Su, how is her painting skills? It seems a little bit rotten. Sugu said, okay, it's finally my turn. Did I hear you right? Enterprise said, can you still draw? I know a little bit. Sugu was humble. He thought that he knew a little bit before. The textbook was an exercise book. He was especially good at drawing beauties and messy monsters. When he came to this world, the little Lolita from the town guardhouse liked to graffiti, so of course if you practice well, there will be no problem at all whether it is a big lion, a big tiger or a big whale. The company said, I said the painting was terrible, and you believed it? Sugu was silent for a moment and then said, Richelieu, no, she is mainly good at oil painting and sketching. Clarkston definitely doesn't like these. What she likes should be cartoons, so let's go to Bazai. No, 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 forget it about Bazai. I'm a little afraid of her, so I'd better go to Leipzig. She used to be Bazai's assistant, so her painting skills are fine. Just ask her to be my assistant, it's a piece of cake. The company said, my ship girl and I easily destroyed the deep-sea flagship. A voice suddenly sounded. Admiral, what are you talking about? Sugu took a look and saw that it was Sigsby who had come over, but he really didn't pay attention to what she was doing. Of course he didn't say anything anymore. He said, I didn't say anything. Let's just talk. It must be about Clarkston. Sigsby clasped his hands behind his back. Sugu smiled dryly. Sigsby added, I thought the Admiral was bragging, but it turns out there really is Claxton, sister. Sugu said, when did I ever brag? Missouri said, it's rumbling again, it's hopeless. Sigsby tugged on Sugu's pants, and she whispered, hey, Admiral, if you want to get Claxton, I can help you. How can you help, Consultant Sue? Fletcher is a sister, and she will do anything for her sister. It is difficult for her to get up early every day to prepare her sister's clothes for the day, put toothpaste on the toothbrush, put hot water and towels in the basin. Of course she has to help comb her hair, and she also tells stories to coax her in the evening. I went to bed and complained countless times about when this kind of life would end. Of course, it would definitely have no end, and I couldn't hope for anything else. Thatcher was a little fool, Sullivan was sweet but not clever enough, and really only Sigsbee was useful. Sigsbee thought for a while, but she couldn't explain why. I will try my best to cooperate with you. Sugu said, do you still know how to cooperate? Understood. What don't I understand? Sigsbee said, I will praise you quietly. The Admiral is the best, the Admiral loves us most, and as his ship's wife, I am the happiest ship's wife in the world. I will say that our room is very beautiful, you should go and take a look. The Admiral helped us decorate it. I will say that I am hungry, and the Admiral will bring out delicious snacks at this time. Enterprise asked Missouri in a low voice, are all the little guys in your townhouse so powerful? It's just that she's great, Missouri said, although she looks like Washington, her personality is completely different. She secretly observes Lexington every day. You know Lexington's level. Learn how she speaks and do what she does. She's still young now. Is already a little goblin, one day she will mature and grow up, who knows what she will become, a witch who brings disaster to the country and the people. Enterprise said, even if you grow up and you are still a ship girl, there is only one admiral. Sugu still understood that Sigsbee would never say this for no reason. He asked, what reward do you want? Rings, Sigsbee said. Fletcher didn't hurt you in vain, Sugu said, no problem. The company couldn't help but say, Sugu, do you really have no moral integrity? Sugu said, how much does it cost per pound of jijiao? Is it delicious? Missouri cooperated, it doesn't taste good. Sugu smiled. Sigsbee winked mischievously, and the two dimples on his face were so cute. Admiral made a mistake, the ring is not for my sister, it belongs to Sigsbee. The Enterprise almost spit out its old blood. Of course Sugu knew it was a joke. He squatted on the ground and pinched Sigsbee's face, saying, you annoying little goblin. Okay, I promise you. Is that agreed? We have a deal. Otherwise, let's change my sister. If I don't change it, Sugu said, I want Sigsbee. Sister, I tried my best, but it's a pity that I can't do anything. Don't blame me, Sigsbee muttered to herself. She laughed and bent her little finger, if you don't change it, you won't change it. Admiral pulls the hook and hangs yourself for 100 years. Don't be allowed to change, those who change are puppies. Hang yourself with a hook and you won't be allowed to change for 100 years. Those who change are puppies. Sugu stretched out his little finger and hooked Sigsbee's little finger. Sigsbee raised his hand and said, I'm leaving first. Admiral, come quickly. Sugu said, I'll wait and get there. The company doesn't know what to say, you. Sugu said, do we have any problems? It's a big question, okay. Just kidding. Sugu started to think thoughtfully again, it seems like it's a rare opportunity to go with the flow. Don't go too far. Believe in my character. Forgive me that I can't do it. Sugu suddenly asked, how many days does the Enterprise plan to stay with us? I'm leaving tomorrow, I don't have much time. What do you want to eat tonight? I'll give you a treat. This reward is too cheap, the company said, whatever, I don't choose. London chef, guaranteed to be so delicious that your tongue will swallow it. As long as you come with me, I'm willing to accompany you. Sugu said, no way, when did you fall in love with me, Enterprise, and you are actually willing to live and die with me? Roll. Sugu said, actually, you can try Missouri's craftsmanship. Missouri knows how to cook. I have been friends with her for so many years, but it seems that I have never eaten anything she cooked. The magic of love is a bit too strong. The company was really shocked and knocked on his forehead. No, 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 I really can't imagine her with her hair tied up and wearing an apron standing in front of the stove cooking with a spoon. Sugu said, the taste is very special. Missouri said, kick you, I work so hard. Even if you work very hard, the taste is really bad. Sugu said, if you forget about it and force people to eat it, you can't stop eating it. Missouri said, I'll make more for you tonight. Enterprise said quietly, please, I don't want to eat dog food. Okay, that's it, no more talk, I'm leaving. Sugu smiled, already impatient, Claxton is still waiting for me. Enterprise looked at the back of Sugu striding away and Claxton's smiling face, and suddenly felt a little worried. Run, little girl, run. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 921. The sun is just right. Sugu had many considerations in his mind. For example, after the war, Clarkston was handed over to the German Navy and renamed Z4. Should he call all the Z drivers over? There are many dolls in the little house. Sister Meow has the most dolls, but that doesn't mean there are fewer other dolls. There are penguins, dolphins, whales, giraffes, hippos, etc. Remember, there is no little beaver. It's a pity that there are a few little Lolita around. Admiral. Sigsby spotted him first, she called, then Fletcher. Sullivan's voice was sweet, Thatcher's loudest. Admiral Claxton shouted with a smile. When Sugu was stunned, she reacted and quickly stretched out her hands to cover her mouth. After a while, she let go and whispered, you called me wrong, I followed my sisters, Admiral Sue. Hello, Admiral Sue. Although there is only one word difference between Admiral and Admiral Sue, the meaning is completely different. I really hope I am not wrong. Sugu thought to himself that the little girl seems to be a little natural, so cute. He smiled. He had to show his closeness just right, but he couldn't act too weird, which would scare the children. It doesn't matter if Claxton calls him Admiral. Claxton put his hands behind his back and lowered his head, shyly. I've met Sister Fletcher, Consultant Sue, how's it going? So beautiful. Claxton hugged Fletcher. Her head was less than Fletcher's chin. She raised her head and shouted, Sister. Fletcher touched Claxton's long, silky hair and smiled fondly. Sugu saw it and felt a little envious, so I wanted to touch it too. He saw a group of British people sitting in a pavilion not far away enjoying afternoon tea. The Hood, the Lion, and the Prince of Wales were gathered around the stone table, as if the three kingdoms were standing in a tripod. They were looking at this place, pointing and saying something, and thought for a while. Said, what are you doing standing here? Sit somewhere. Fletcher, take Sister Claxton to the coffee shop in our town house. Claxton looked towards Enterprise almost subconsciously. Enterprise nodded and raised his hand, but she said nothing. Egg tarts, mousse, tiramisu, pudding. Thatcher counted the snacks she wanted to eat. She didn't have such a big idea. She wanted to keep up her appearance in front of Claxton. She was a little greedy when she thought about the snacks. She is a little idiot. She sleeps in class and drools all over the table. Even if she has poor academic performance, as a ship girl, she doesn't even pay attention to actual combat training. She is at the bottom of the garrison in terms of bombardment and lightning strike rate. She knows how to play crazy after class and does all the moves if she has something to eat. Soon, the mouth became louder. Does Claxton know? Sigsby said, Sister Fletcher can make snacks, and so can the Admiral. The snacks he makes are super delicious. Can Admiral Sue make snacks? Claxton looked at him with admiration, that's awesome. Sugu saw Sigsby blinking his left eye, and he understood. This was her so-called cooperation. He said modestly, it's nothing special. Claxton said, it must be very happy to be Admiral Su's bride. You little girl is really love-minded. Sugu wanted to speak, but finally decided to forget it. It would be better not to talk about it. Sigsby said, Sister Fletcher likes the Admiral and wants to be his bride. No, Fletcher glanced at Sugu, lowered his head shyly, and fiddled with the white apron with his fingers. Claxton bent over and looked at Fletcher's drooping face. Sister Fletcher is blushing. Sigsby said again, but the Admiral dislikes Sister Fletcher for having too many sisters. Although there are only 3 now, there will definitely be more and more in the future, including William, Hillman, Converse, and Dyson. And Potato Obanon, Changchun said she knew an Obanon. There were 175 Fletcher-class destroyers, and a lot of small tow bottles. Sigsby's grades are pretty good and he knows a lot. Really? Claxton's eyes changed when he looked at Sugu. Sugu hasn't explained yet. Of course it's a lie, Sigsby said. Sister Fletcher is good to us, and the Admiral is even better to us. He takes time out of his busy schedule to play with us every day, and leaves all the delicious food for us. Absolutely no stealing. Tell us stories. Has Claxton heard of the stories Little Red Riding Hood, The Ugly Duckling, and Alice Conquers Wonderland? Claxton said, no. Excellent. Is this suppressing first and then promoting? Sigsby's routine seems a bit deep. Sugu thought this and smelled something unusual. Sigsby seemed to be taking the opportunity to ridicule himself. All kinds of things in the garrison, Lexington, Washington, and the head maid have a good reputation. Of course, Euxian, who is in charge of the cafeteria, and Leipzig, the warehouse manager, have also contributed a lot. How can I have nothing to do with my busy schedule? Most of the time you only need to sign and stamp, leaving you with a lot of free time. There were quite a few times when I stole snacks from little Lolita, and I was caught cheating on her several times. Those stories are even more messy, and they come out every time I think of them. He coughed, patted Sigsby on the head, meaning to be quiet, and said, no more. Thatcher has disappeared. Let's go to the coffee shop. He looked at Claxton again. The little girl still didn't know her situation. He asked, can Claxton make snacks? Claxton replied, no. Want to try it? Sugu said, the snacks made by yourself will be more delicious. But I'm not very good at cooking desserts. It doesn't matter, Sugu said, I can teach you. I believe Claxton will learn it quickly. This afternoon, the kitchen of the cafe was busy. In addition to Santiago, Rader, Emden, Fletcher-level guys who were originally responsible for making snacks, etc., many little Lolita also ran over here. It was usually not open to them, so it was a rare opportunity to come in, especially since Lan and Cushing kept making noises. London and Houston also pretended to be nonchalant and came in to watch. Of course, this place was not open to them at ordinary times. Sugu kicked them out at that time. Emden is responsible for preparing tools, cake molds, plates, enamel bowls and other utensils, including sieves, egg separators, egg beaters, chopsticks, spoons, etc. Various ingredients are indispensable, such as eggs, flour, sugar, chocolate, milk, salt, oil, etc. There is just one serious problem. There are quite a few sneaky little Lolita. They have dried up most of the almonds, melon seeds, peanuts, and other dried fruits, apples, kiwis, dragon fruit and other fruits that are going to be used to make snacks. Before starting to make the snack. After leaving the kitchen, behind the bar, Sugu looked at the attacker. Her long pink hair was accidentally not tied into a ponytail today, and she tied it with a bunny ear headband. She had quite a few open-chested sweaters, revealing most of her fair skin, and the bottomless abyss cannot be separated from the eyes. Wearing a floral apron, it is quite cute. Rader, do you have any recommendations for high-quality chocolate? Chocolate truffles, said the attacker. How about chocolate roses? Is it hard? It's not difficult. Is it really not difficult? Maybe. Tell me briefly how to make it, and follow me. If something goes wrong, remember to remind me in time. Sugu's level is still a bit high, he is not a real novice. With this confidence, nothing will happen easily. At most, it is just a matter of checking for deficiencies and filling in the gaps. This is definitely not a flag. He thought of something again and warned, remember, don't yell so loudly like last time, saying things like Admiral, you are wrong, or this is not how you do it, just give me a gentle push. Hitting his forehead with his little fist and sticking out his tongue, the attacker is a master of cuteness. Raiders talk about the steps of two kinds of chocolate in her mouth. Sugu looked at Santiago again. The girl's green curly hair was thick and fluffy, and her tail was swaying. Claxton's tail was not good enough, and he really wanted to pull her tail. A few cat-ear level people once opened bakeries, and Atlanta only knew how to command people in this and that way. Juno's contribution cannot be ignored, but she was still the main force. The main reason was that she had a good temper and was easy to bully. Sugu returned to the kitchen again. The slightly raised corners of his mouth showed his confidence. He hesitated and put on an apron from the wall. In fact, the apron was optional, but it felt more presentable. Claxton suddenly circled around him. Sugu opened his hands, lowered his head to check his dress, and asked curiously, Claxton, is there anything wrong with me like this? Admiral Su looks so reliable. It is okay. The raiders, Santiago, and many others leaned on the cabinets to watch Sugu perform. Showtime. Sugu reached out and took the eggs from the long table in the center of the kitchen, explaining as he did so. This is an egg separator. Egg yolks and egg whites should be separated. There can be a little egg white inside the egg yolk, otherwise it will be difficult to mix the egg yolks evenly. Egg beater, where's the egg beater? Enthusiasm, give me the egg beater. Okay, now start beating the egg whites until bubbles appear, and add a spoonful of sugar. Sugu talked a lot, and finally said, this step is very important. The inside of the mold must be brushed with a layer of oil, otherwise it will be easy to stick. Then, like me, pour the batter liquid prepared earlier into the mold, and then put it in, bake it in the oven for about 6, 7, 8 minutes, and you'll have a fragrant snack. The little loli started to take action, and Sugu gave some pointers from time to time. I have to say that Claxton's movements are decent and she is very powerful. Of course, she cannot be compared with girls like Fletcher and Z16. She is still a bit immature. A ship girl will master common sense as soon as she wakes up. Different ship girls have different skills. Mastering different knowledge, the other party definitely has talent in this area. Admiral, I made this. The snacks came out quickly, and Lafayette took one and handed it to Sugu. Sugu took a bite and almost didn't spit it out. He spit it into his hand and looked at it. Why is it salty? Because I put a lot of salt. Lafayette smiled mischievously. Sugu made a fist with his right hand, gave her head a few hard blows, and rubbed her 2 bunches of hair that were always raised up like a cat. Lafayette said loudly, the salty party will never be a slave. I call you Sien Dang. Sugu gave her a few more blows, realizing that she was just pranking her. Admiral Su, thank you for teaching me how to make snacks. To thank you, I made this, and it contains my deep love. Claxton smiled sweetly, completely unaware of what his words would do. Misunderstanding, I found many people looking at me with innocent expressions. Even though she has been there before, Sigsby the little fairy often says similar things. Of course, unlike Claxton, she only teases people for fun. She also occasionally makes shocking remarks about Little House, fantasy, big mackerel, etc. Sugu felt that his heart was still beating so hard. Admiral, Santiago asked worriedly. It's okay, Sugu said, I can still hold on. I left the kitchen soon after. Regardless of the fact that the kitchen was in a mess because of a large group of little Lolita, I couldn't go to the studio. If I didn't clean it carefully, I might suddenly find a painting that was not suitable for children. It would damage the eyes of the little Lolita. Sugu took Claxton to the blackboard wall of the town hall. It's a pity that everyone worked together to draw on the blackboard wall on Children's Day. There were many little Lolita holding hands, and Veneto was the fifth from the top. It was as if the blackboard painting of a world-famous painting had been maliciously erased again, and now there are only messy graffiti. Consultant Sue, Claxton, I heard from the company that you like to draw. Claxton nodded heavily, yeah. Sugu said, Claxton must be very powerful. No, Claxton was a little disappointed. Sugu hesitated to mention Bazai. She was the author of the pseudonym Pirate Cat. We walked around the townhouse for a while. The little Lolita secret base, which is the large container, is a very interesting place. We can't miss the amusement park. It should be said that the large hamster wheel, slide, rocking tiger and, of course, the seesaw are indispensable. Then it's the swing again. Admiral, try harder. Okay, normally, Sugu wouldn't mind sitting on the swing and playing with the little girl in his arms. With Claxton around, he had to be more restrained. He just stood behind the swing and was responsible for pushing. It's so high, Sullivan said. Be careful. Several little Lolitas sat in a row on the swing. Fletcher naturally would not participate. She looked worried next to her, fearing that the swing would break at some point, especially after the swing had broken once before. Even more so. I was also afraid that the swing would fly too high and someone might fall off the swing accidentally. Thatcher exclaimed to Claxton, Sister Fletcher is a long-winded old woman. Thatcher Fletcher's voice had no confidence. It was finally over, and several little Lolita jumped off the swing. Only Claxton asked Sugu politely, are you tired? Sugu waved his hand, it's okay. What a gentle admiral, Claxton said, I like him so much. If you like it so much, stay. Sugu took a deep breath and thought to himself, was he being attacked? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 922. Everything has its limits, and too little is too much. Sugu didn't stay with the little Loli all the time, and took the opportunity to gain favor with Clarkston. With Sigsby, a clever little guy, there shouldn't be much of a problem. Soon into the night, Claxton was handed over to Fletcher, her arms guaranteed to satisfy the little girl. With so many friends and two idiot sisters, the company naturally did not choose to stay in the guest room. In the end, they chose to live with Missouri. Originally, they planned to call Hindenburg. Hindenburg was a little afraid of two people. 1 + 1 is greater than 2. It was hard work coming from the ship girl branch, sailing for a long time, exposed to wind and Sunday as a girl, not to mention that it is early winter, the weather is still warm. Even in the middle of winter, with temperatures of several degrees below zero, this bath is indispensable. Enterprise took a shower first, put on a white shirt and walked out of the bathroom, then changed to Missouri to wash. Compared to the company, Missouri stayed in the townhouse and didn't go anywhere. She just washed briefly and came out, wearing a lace nightgown. I'm ready to go to bed at this point, I won't go anywhere, this body is fine. Only the bedside lamp was on in the room. The orange light only illuminated the area near the bedside, and the surrounding area was still a bit dim. Enterprise sat on the edge of the bed, looked at Missouri up and down, suddenly became funny, and said, Missouri, I noticed that your breasts seem to have become fuller. Missouri lowered her head, unable to see why. Is it because you got married and was rubbed too much by someone, so it naturally got bigger? Enterprise said, I'm not an idiot, so please don't say, he didn't rub my breasts or anything. There was no way Missouri could deny it. What cup size are you wearing now? Enterprise stretched out his finger and poked Missouri's breasts, dug in deeply, and patted her butt. The butt seems to be getting bigger. Enterprises are testing the waters on the brink of death. Missouri was stunned for a moment. She never thought that the company would dare to tease, and bully her instead of just using words. She threw the company down at that time, greeted her with both hands, and smiled coquettishly. Are you jealous? Let me rub it for you, I promise it will get bigger. The company folded its hands in front of its chest and said, don't make trouble. Missouri, let's not make trouble. How could Missouri stop here? It was so easy to give up, and the company couldn't bear the humiliation. The two people immediately started fighting. They often did this kind of thing before. Missouri, what are you doing? The company's capital is not small, it is quite strong. There, Missouri, I remind you not to go too far, stop it. Enterprise, let me tell you, what's going on with that kind of thing? Ravage unilaterally. Just for a moment, the two people in the room were entangled in an extremely seductive posture. Enterprise's right leg was raised high by Missouri, resting on his shoulders. Most of the buttons on his white shirt were loosened, and half of his white underwear was taken off. Reveal something. The company's face was red, and Missouri seemed to have nothing wrong with it. The reason is quite simple. Although the two were evenly matched opponents in the past, no matter what aspects, now the company is still a girl, and Missouri is already a young woman. She is a whole level higher than the company and can easily deal with it. That's it, Enterprise was pinned down on the bed, and she took the lead in begging for mercy. I was wrong, let go. You're asking for it. Missouri let go of the Enterprise and rubbed her fingers, childishly. Enterprise stood by the bed, combed his long blonde hair with his fingers, slowly arranged his clothes, straightened the hem of his clothes, buttoned the buttons one by one, and then picked up the photo frame originally placed on the bedside table. The memory of the fish is not as good as that of a fish. He completely forgot how miserable he was just now, or he was about to regain his position. When Enterprise saw Missouri, he showed a playful smile and said, Missouri, I remember the last time I came here, the photo you posed was still yours. Now it's you and Mr. Sue. Isn't it enough to have such a big wedding photo on the bedside wall? Because he wanted a picture of me and him, Missouri said. The company said, I'm so arrogant. It's not tsundere, it's really like this. Missouri said, although he didn't mention it, I also want to change a photo, but I want to change it to a photo of me, him, and Xiaoze. Enterprise put down the photo frame and raised her legs, only to see that the slippers on her feet were the same as the slippers on Missouri's feet, and the original slippers in your room are not these, are they? Do you need to change them into couple slippers? I like it, I love it, do you care? Missouri said, her expression was even a little proud, and she didn't miss any detail. Yes, I can't control it. Enterprise said, that's fine. Last time when Mr. Sue was awarded a medal, you came to our ship girl branch and we slept together. You talked all night about all kinds of things about him. All kinds of things, but most of them are bad words. Now that I'm married, they've all become maintenance. During the day, I always tried to tear him down, but today it seems like I haven't even done that once. Missouri himself also felt a lot changed. Is there such a thing? The company joked, I'm a little curious, do you really like it that much? I really do. Missouri smiled, then became serious, and drew a big circle in the air with her hands. I like it that much. Enterprise threw himself on the bed, hugged a soft pillow, rested his face on the pillow, and said, really, I'm really curious, not to tease you, what do you like about that guy? The garrison is very strong, but it is only limited to joining the garrison. Being willing to be a wedding ship means that you must like him as a person, not as an external object. The company said to itself, what are the advantages of that person? Aggressiveness. He has no heart at all. When I talked to him about the governor, he actually had no interest at all. His personality was just like that of a small farmer who was just getting by. Well, let's call him family-oriented. What else? His ability was pretty good, his knowledge was pretty good. His personality was pretty good too. It's fun to talk, and it's fun to talk. Missouri said, you've finished talking about the advantages, what else can I say? With a Western body shape, the company thought for a while and said, a fatal question is the height not enough? People from the East and the South are already tall enough. They are considered tall. No, I remember you didn't say that before. What did I say and what did I say? Enterprise said, in my impression, there was an admiral who pursued you before, but you rejected him and privately laughed at him for being a short man. An admiral should at least be taller than himself wearing high heels, otherwise it would be too unseemly. Then that admiral is almost the same as him, Mr. Su. Cannot remember. The company said again, not handsome. Missouri replied, can handsome people be used as food? The company laughed and said, yes. Although he is not very handsome, Missouri said, he is still handsome. After talking a lot more, Enterprise finally looked at Missouri steadily, you can't be saved. Missouri walked to the sofa, took a cookie from the small round table next to it, and asked the company, do you want it? Don't want. Don't forget it. Missouri clicked. After finishing the cookie, he poured a glass of water and drank it, then suddenly asked, how are you doing with the company? Have you found someone to take over your position? Not yet. Not a word yet. You mean you are willing to join us, but there are still things that have not been completed, so let's delay it. Missouri sneered, how can you be so good, as the head of the branch of such a big company, willing to give up everything? What do you like about him? Businesses don't speak. The next day, the canteen of the town guard mansion. Enterprise sat down opposite Sugu with breakfast, and said, Sue, do you know? Missouri really likes you. How to say? Enterprises have said a lot. For Admiral, I am willing to do anything. This is serious. However, Missouri is really not shy. In fact, when she talks about love, she is not much worse than Sugu. Admiral, look at this kind of clothes. I sent it to you today because you said you liked it. Sugu looked at Missouri and called affectionately, wife. The company's face was expressionless. I'm talking about you. Well, I don't know what to say. Sugu and Missouri looked at each other and then laughed. Everyone was in the coffee shop again, chatting about all kinds of things, not limited to the Admiral and the ship girl, but also world events. I wonder how Yu Changchun changed from Kokang to Changchun? No matter how hard we jet and Bauer train, and think of all kinds of ways, there is no way to become a guided missile destroyer. By the way, speaking of missiles destroyer, I heard that another one appeared somewhere. It seems to be blazing. The governor of Donghai has long said he would retire, but he has not yet retired. There is a big news, you must not know, because there is no report in the newspapers. Didn't we sink many deep-sea flagships? Several warship branches and garrison offices in the West were not convinced. You can do it, but we have no reason to do it, so we organized a large-scale attack on the deep-sea flagship. Failed to reach the deep-sea Tirpitz, but got stuck on a deep-sea armored aircraft carrier. That guy was incredible. The armor was so thick, all the wounds were scratches. There is another war in Southeast Asia. There is really no stopping. All the good cities have been turned into ruins. The garrison is still a little far away from the Kanyang branch where the company is located, and it takes some time to navigate. The company stayed at the town guardhouse until noon, finished lunch, and was ready to leave again. Before leaving, there is one thing. The business called in Claxton and said, "We're going back." Claxton said, "That fast?" Enterprise blinked and she said, "How about Claxton stays?" Capital ships are the most difficult to deal with, and destroyers are the easiest to deal with, but there are also special situations. There are still many destroyers in many ship-girl branches that have never been taken away. It's not that the admiral doesn't like them. The reason is that they all have a sister or family member who always takes care of them and can't live without them. Maybe it's the publicity team Portland, the battle group Alaska, the command group Nuremberg, and like Princeton and Cushing, Andrea and Kaio, Archerfish and Shinano, have the ability to take away adults, buy one get one free, otherwise it will be difficult. Claxton hasn't been awake for long, and there is no one who occupies a too important position in her heart. Then there are several sisters in the garrison, especially the eldest sister Fletcher, and Thatcher is also a member of the Little Beaver Squadron. In addition, with the cooperation of enterprises, it would be impossible for her to directly join the town government, but staying would not be a big problem. Amidst the loud and clear OU sound, seagulls flapped their wings and circled in the sky. Sister Enterprise Clarkston stood at the pier. She was willing to stay, but she still didn't want to leave the Enterprise. No, sister still has something to do. The ship uniform has been unfolded. Enterprise stood on the sea and shook her head. She understood what Claxton meant, but she had to go back. As a minister, she has a lot of things to do, and it would be unavoidable to stay outside for a long time. Outrageous. Sister Enterprise Claxton called again. Even though she had known her for a few days, she had a very good impression of Enterprise. Generous, chic, and hearty, the company is extremely charismatic and has always been big and small. Good. Sugu stood aside and put his hand on Fletcher's shoulder. The girl raised her head and glanced at him. Before he could wink, Siafe lowered her head with her cheeks. He thought to himself, "Fletcher, why are you so shy?" All he could do was wink at Sigsby and do something without causing further complications. Sigsby rolled her eyes, and she immediately understood what Sugu meant. She walked behind Claxton, hugged the little girl, and said, "What is this? It's so strange. Why does it look like this? Is it like separation between life and death? Sister Claxton can go back at any time if she wants." Yeah, Claxton sniffed and finally nodded. Sugu whispered, "Enterprise." The company was not so polite to him. She said, "Su, you know, it's impossible, so if you want to ask me to stay, don't say it. Don't be disrespectful." Sugu said, "I didn't ask you to stay." Businesses wonder, what is that? Sugu waved and motioned for the company to come closer. Business sailed to him. Sugu stood on the shore, and Enterprise stood on the sea. He was so high up that he couldn't see anything. Enterprise was wearing tight clothes. He squatted down and leaned into Enterprise's ear and said, "I want to say, how should I say it? Seeing Claxton, I suddenly want to gather a small squadron of beavers, so if I have a chance, what about Dyson, what about Converse, you understand, right?" "I know." Sugu added, "It doesn't have to be limited to the Little Beaver Squadron. Other members of the Fletcher class can also be used, such as Potato Obanon, Hillman, etc. Be sure to pay more attention. Think about it, in fact, it doesn't matter if it's not the Fletcher class, it's the destroyer Feng Feng, Little Angel U-156, Snack U-96, anyway, as long as, you know this. Understand? Then it's okay, you can go." Sugu stood up. Enterprise raised his head and said coldly, "Go to hell, why don't you go to hell?" Sugu laughed loudly. Enterprise bent down and poured water on him. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 923. First of all, this is a side story and has nothing to do with the main story. Do not substitute it into the main text. I'm sorry, there is no night. I am also very helpless. I am really stuck and can only write some random things. The shadows of the trees are mottled and the shadows of the sun are whirling. The woman was sitting behind a desk by the window, looking up at the sky through the window. There were white clouds. The sea breeze was blowing at this time. She was stroking her long white hair against the wind, thinking of the carefree days of sailing on the sea a long time ago. I really miss it. She smoothly took out a pen from the pen holder, took off the pen cap, and touched the pen tip on the white letterhead paper. She wanted to write something, such as a letter for help. Should I regret it? I really should regret it. So many stories have been told that curiosity killed the cat. Don't look back. Why don't you believe it? You are so stubborn. With this thought in her mind, a bitter smile appeared on the corner of the woman's mouth, and large drops of tears slid down her cheeks, dripped from her chin, and wet the table. The pen seemed to be out of water. The woman reached out and unscrewed the ink bottle, sucked a large tube of ink, sniffed, and began to write. No matter who picks up this letter, please show mercy and rescue me from the dire straits. I would like to express my gratitude. I am Musashi, I am the Musashi, the deep-sea flagship. As long as you rescue me, you can do anything you want. The story may be a little ridiculous, but please read it carefully. There was no wind that day, the sea was calm, the sun was just right, and the field of view was very good. I could see far away, including a huge whale floating on the sea like a small island in the distance. I like whales very much. It is a kind of very cute and gentle animals. I have an older sister, she is Yamato, she likes to tie her white hair into a ponytail, she has a good figure, anyway, she is good in everything, but her personality is a bit pretentious. He attacked those human garrison buildings again and again, and suffered repeated defeats, thus earning a funny nickname, Model Worker. Model Worker, you have a new scar on your face. You must be attacking those human garrison buildings again. I personally saw you attacking those human garrison buildings that day, and you were hung up and beaten. Others laughed at her, but I wouldn't. When I heard that she failed again, I quickly found her from far away. I wanted to comfort her and help her, no matter whether it was going up mountains of swords or seas of fire, no matter what kind of force she faced. The enemy will never take a step back to help her teach the garrison who bullied her a lesson. All in all, I found my sister and told her, no one can bully you, no matter who the other party is, let's go, my sister will stand up for you. Who knew that my sister shook her head and said, it's okay, it's over. My sister gave up revenge and was very determined. Since it was her decision, I have nothing to say. I stayed at my sister's house and lived happily until that day came. That day I heard the name Sugu from my sister. I was a little curious, so I asked her who Sugu was. She immediately kept it secret and told me not to ask. The next day I met the supply ship and accidentally mentioned the name Sugu. The little girl's face turned pale and became frightened. She said, Musashi, don't say that person's name, you can't mention it. That's a taboo. As long as you mention that name, that person and his minions will be able to detect your presence and find you. When I asked again, Supply-chan didn't want to say anything anymore. However, no matter what, I didn't believe this nonsense, and I decided to find the truth. After asking many people, I pieced together the only information I had about Sugu's name, trying to discover something, and then that night, I had a dream. In the dream, I came to a Larry mansion. The Larry mansion was not very big, but it had a lot of everything. There were many ship girls. A young girl with short black watermelon skin hair was fishing on the pier, and a silly-looking woman with short blonde hair was practicing sailing. On the carrier aircraft, there is a woman with white hair and ponytails wielding an axe, and a woman with black hair seems to be eating gluttonously. It is simply terrifying. There are little Lolita battleships, and there are many, many more. I don't know where a sound that cannot be considered a voice came from. It was a very chaotic feeling. Only imagination can find the feeling of the sound. I barely caught a few vague words from this feeling: Sugu, Admiral, Big Pervert and someone. This dream makes me a little excited, and I can't wait to find the truth in various ways. The truth made me tremble all over, and I couldn't tell the truth from the lie. That person, that Sugu, he is an admiral, and his garrison has hundreds of ship girls. He is unprecedentedly powerful. He even has an unclear relationship with the deep-sea flagships, such as Pachina, Ziwikaku, Ryajo, and Savoy. Which even includes my sister. Something driving me to find that garrison. Finally, I was stuck there, and I was told I couldn't leave until I had a baby. She seemed to be joking, but I didn't think it was funny. Pachina, Ziwikaku, Ryajo, Savoy, and my sister all came, and they told me not to worry, that I would be fine, but I didn't believe it. Help me! Help me! Please, someone help me! Musashi finally finished writing the letter for help, folded it into a paper airplane, put it in front of her mouth and breathed a sigh of relief, then threw it out the window. Watching the paper airplane fly melodiously towards the sea, she lowered her head, clasped her hands with her fingers intertwined, and looked pious and silent. And began to pray. Base on the road, kamikaze at the airport, my good friend, it would be great if you picked it up. Silly monkey, please, I will never call you stupid monkey again. If it's Akagi and Kaga, you will definitely not disappoint me. There are so many carrier-based aircraft that no one can avoid their sharp edges. Musashi thought that someone would come soon, break this townhouse and take him away, and he couldn't help but smile. At this time, I suddenly heard a knock on the door. Who? Your sister. Musashi opened the door and saw Yamato. Sister, what did you throw outside? Musashi looked around and said, I don't know what you are talking about. It's no use, Yamato said. Musashi smiled, she was sure someone would come. Ryajo's little head came out, Musashi, you will sleep with me tonight. Don't bully my sister. Yamato patted Ryajo and said to Musashi, believe me, sister, everything will be fine. The door closed, and Musashi knelt on the ground, knocking on the door with his forehead. Go to bed, then give birth, yes, that's it. I don't want to, this is my first time, I don't want to have a child. Dong dong dong. When the knock on the door rang again, the white-haired woman sat on the ground, her heart ashen. No, by the time someone comes, it will be a done deal. If I take the initiative, will the man named Sugu be gentler? As for the child, I hope it will be a girl, and my name will be